Chapter 30-34. Lai Wen finally woke up at noon, but his mental state after getting up was still not good. People with poor health couldn't stand the torment. This torment made Lai Wen's body's resistance drop significantly, and he looked sickly. Although Lai Wen wasn't feeling well, he still had to eat lunch. He couldn't use the morning rice noodles to welcome Su Yun. It had to be a proper welcoming dinner to show the importance he attached to Su Yun. Hunan cuisine was one of the 8 cuisines with a long history in Huaxia. It had already been formed in the Han Dynasty. Today's dinner table was quite rich. Usually, Lai Wen wouldn't cook so many dishes. Although he was a wasteful person, he wouldn't waste it in this aspect. Group temple tofu, group temple shark fin, these were the representatives of the official dishes. Then there was dong and chicken, goldfish playing with lotus, 100 birds worshipping the phoenix, steamed sausage, ningxiang flavor snake, chopped pepper fish head, sesame crispy duck, and so on. A sumptuous banquet couldn't lack good wine. After 3 to 5 glasses, Lai Wen started to talk more. After dinner, I will take you to see my collection. Lai Wen said, I'm not bragging. I don't dare to say this in Yanjing, but in Huxiang, I dare to say that all the things in the hands of the collectors in this area can't be compared to my own. Su Yun, then I really can't wait. Then drink first. It's still early. You will live here in the future. You can look at it whenever you want. What's mine is yours. Lai Wen's words were really arrogant. At this time, a man in black walked to Lai Wen's side and whispered in Lai Wen's ear, Boss, that person heard that you came back and started to make trouble again. She refused to eat. What else can you do? Lai Wen stared unhappily and said, You can't even handle a small matter. Is a little girl so difficult to deal with? How long has it been? There's still no F***king progress. Boss. It's not that we don't want to think of a way, but she really doesn't move. The man was helpless. Su Yun heard everything. He had obviously guessed what Lai Wen and the others were talking about. However, as an outsider, Su Yun pretended to be uninterested and continued to eat the sesame crispy duck that he thought was the best. If she doesn't want to eat, then we'll starve her. Lai Wen said angrily, Can't you see that I don't have time to entertain her today? Starve her. I'd like to see how long she can last. The man in black nodded and left. Lai Wen's mood was greatly reduced. What a disappointment. Lai Wen unhappily drank a glass of wine and became unhappy. Boss Lai, if there's anything I can help you with, just let me know, Su Yun said. I'm here to help you, not to be a guest. It's nothing, just some trivial matters. Lai Wen waved his hand. Su Yun realized that although Lai Wen's words were nice, he still didn't fully trust him. Since Lai Wen didn't want to talk to him about these things, Su Yun didn't ask anymore and continued to eat his food. He had to be patient. Sooner or later, Lai Wen wouldn't be able to hold it in. At that time, he would definitely say everything that should be said and shouldn't be said. Halfway through the meal, Lai Wen lost his appetite and didn't like to talk anymore. Su Yun had been silent for the rest of the time. He knew that Lai Wen had thoughts in his heart now. It didn't make any sense for him to interrupt him. Instead, he let Lai Wen think about it. Maybe he could set a trap for himself. When it was almost time for lunch, Lai Wenye slowly regained his strength. Su Yun then said faintly, There's an old saying that if you get money, you have to solve the problem for them. Boss Lai, seeing you frown, I really feel sorry in my heart. Although there are some things that I may not be able to solve, if I don't try my best, I will feel guilty. It would be great if everyone could think like you. Lai Wen's face finally showed a trace of a smile. Su Yun continued, There are some things that Boss Lai should take lightly. I believe that the people who are important to you must be loyal. It's just that their abilities are different. They may not be suitable for what he is doing now. Lai Wen was stunned. He seemed to hear Su Yun's words. You mean? Lai Wen frowned. I should try different methods? Ah. Su Yun was stunned and shook his head. I don't know what trouble Boss Lai has encountered, so it's really hard to say. Lai Wen nodded. I don't have to hide it from you. It's just that there are some things that I don't want to tell you because of your personality. Su Yun didn't speak. He quietly waited for Lai Wen to continue. When you were in Africa, you didn't like to do things that you refused. Lai Wen said, "Here, I have something that may make you feel disgusted and disgusted." Hearing Lai Wen's words, Su Yun was puzzled. "I imprisoned a person," Lai Wen said. Su Yun's heart suddenly became clear. This guy really dared to say whatever he wanted. "Boss Lai, I am indeed a person who respects human rights. So, you should stop talking. There are some things that I won't do. I have my bottom line." Lai Wen sighed. "I knew you would definitely say this, so I didn't tell you at the beginning." Su Yun shook his head. "Sometimes, Boss Lai's approach may be too disrespectful of the law." "Don't you want to ask why I imprisoned this person?" Lai Wen said. Su Yun said bluntly, "No matter what the reason is, I don't think there is this right to restrict a person's freedom. After all, this is Hua Xia, a society ruled by law. Many things can be solved by law." "Well, I knew you would say this," Lai Wen said, "but I have my own reasons for doing this. Because this person came to my house to steal things and was caught by me." Su Yun smiled but didn't say anything. "More importantly, this person has clues to what I want. So I can't let her go," Lai Wen said. Su Yun was now 100% sure that Xia Qiuyu was in this villa. "Then what does Boss Lai mean?" Su Yun probed. "If she tells me the clues I want to know, then I will let her go," Lai Wen said. Lai Wen said, "This is the condition I gave her, but she didn't agree." "What a stubborn girl." "And it's a girl?" Su Yun pretended to be surprised. Lai Wen nodded. "Yes, I'm afraid you won't believe it. My security here is so tight, but she could sneak in." "So what if she came in?" "She still couldn't escape." Su Yun smiled. "Boss Lai's things aren't damaged, right? I'm curious as to what made a girl so bold." Lai Wen frowned. "This thing is really irresistible. If it's this girl's father, I'm afraid I can't keep it." Su Yun was startled and asked knowingly, "Who is it? How can he be so capable?" "God." Lai Wen stopped at the tip of his tongue. "Well, it's meaningless to say more. After all, this person seems to be gone." Chapter 30-35. Su Yun smiled faintly. "The more Boss Lai says this, the more curious I am. What kind of person would make Boss Lai think so highly of? This person is not simple." Lai Wen sighed. "My collection room, I'm confident that normal people can't enter it." Su Yun smiled but didn't say anything, using a profound gaze to look at Lai Wen. Lai Wen stared blankly, facing Su Yun's unfathomable smile. He also raised the corners of his mouth. "I know what you want to say." Su Yun said faintly, "Boss Lai, I don't think I said anything." "You don't need to say it, I know," Lai Wen said. "You are an expert, you have your own confidence. If you say that my courtyard can stop you, I don't believe it myself. But my collection room is not something you can break, haha. So, Boss Lai's collection room must be full of mechanisms." Su Yun pretended to be curious. "I wonder if Boss Lai is willing to give me a few pointers?" Speaking up to here, Lai Wen's interest was piqued. "How much do you know about mechanisms?" Su Yun stared blankly. Mechanisms were an important part of Hua Xia's ancient culture. Some had been passed down to this day, becoming the cornerstone of modern technology. But many had already been lost, buried in the vast history. Mechanisms sounded simple, nothing more than machinery and traps to catch birds and beasts, but they were actually broad and profound. Techniques came from techniques, and mechanisms came from the heart. In all kinds of mechanical devices, mechanisms could be called the most important part. They were small and hidden, but pull one hair and move the whole body, controlling the movement of the whole body. It was definitely the highest embodiment of a person's wisdom and creativity. Lai Wen understood mechanisms. This wasn't hard to understand, because his background forced him to understand these things. He was a master of earth. To put it bluntly, he was a grave robber. If he didn't know a bit about mechanisms, his life would have already been thrown into the ground. The custom of extravagant burial had a long history in Huaxia. Generations of nobles didn't hesitate to spend manpower and money to build a mausoleum. In order to prevent their tombs from being invaded by tomb robbers, the ancients would set up all kinds of defense mechanisms in their tombs in an attempt to prevent tomb robbers from entering. As a grave robber, Lai Wen often broke into the underground palace when he was young. When faced with priceless treasures, he also had to face traps that were impossible to guard against. Therefore, he had a very deep understanding of mechanism techniques. In the annals of history, it is recorded that when Qin Shi Huang first ascended the throne, he passed through Mount Li. Throughout the world, the disciples of the world sent out more than 700,000 people, wearing 3 high mountains and copper coffins. Hundreds of officials in the palace, rare weapons and strange things were stored away. When Lai Wen said this, he was very proud. The feeling of being a cultured person made him feel very comfortable. However, in essence, Lai Wen was not a cultured person at all. Boss Lai's collection room was designed based on the founding emperor tomb? Su Yun was taken aback. This really surprised him. I'm not that capable. After all, there's still no definite conclusion as to what kind of crossbows were installed in the founding emperor tomb. Lai Wen shook his head. But from the looks of the crossbows unearthed from the Qin terracotta pit, the bow and crossbow arms are longer. The material might be Nanshan bristle. It should be a strong crossbow with good performance. Su Yun frowned. He really didn't know much about this. Even if he knew a thing or two, he had seen it in some tomb robber novels. It was hard to distinguish the truth from the fiction. Lai Wen was different. This guy really did research on these things. According to my estimation, this kind of crossbow has a shooting range of at least 800 meters. The tension should be more than 700 to 800 kilograms. This kind of crossbow can't be pulled by just relying on the arm strength of a person, even if it's an expert like you. Lai Wen smiled. Su Yun shook his head. It's very difficult. That's why it can only be effective by using backpedaling, Lai Wen said seriously. What do you mean? Su Yun didn't understand. It's just using the foot to step on the mechanism to fire. Lai Wen said proudly. Connecting the crossbows loaded with arrows one by one, and through the mechanism to fire in groups or bursts, it can achieve the goal of not being operated by anyone. This kind of crossbow is actually a hidden crossbow. Su Yun nodded his head as if he didn't fully understand. Because the founding Emperor Qin's tomb contained a large number of rare treasures, in order to prevent theft, this kind of triggering weapon was installed in the tomb door, the passageway, and so on. Once someone entered the tomb, they would touch the tripwire connected to the crossbow trigger, and then be fiercely shot. This practice was inherited by the tombs of the Han and Tang dynasties, and it was developed to install a turbine in the coffin to shoot down intruders. Speaking of these things, Lai Wen was very familiar with it. This was because he had entered many ancient tombs of all ages. The theories he knew were all from his own experience, so it was more thorough. The so-called turbine is to install several things like our modern pulleys on the inner wall of the coffin. On one side of the pulley, there are crossbows and poisoned arrows, and the rope connects the crossbow and the coffin lid through the pulley. Once someone enters the underground palace and opens the coffin, the rope will go through the turbine to trigger the crossbow to shoot several arrows, killing the person who touches the coffin. Speaking of this, Lai Wen let out a long sigh. Obviously, the number of people who died like this in front of him was already uncountable. Tomb raiding was immoral, but the profits were high. But it also had to bear a considerable amount of risk. If the tomb raider obtained the treasures to give to the country, it was understandable to fight for the country's wealth with illegal groups. Boss Lai must have seen these things with your own eyes. Su Yun smiled slightly. Lai Wen didn't say anything. Since he didn't deny it, it was a kind of tacit agreement. Do you know, these things are really scary. Lai Wen smiled. Su Yun continued, so, Boss Lai used these mechanisms in your own collection room. Once someone wants to enter your collection room, all kinds of mechanisms and traps will be triggered. Then they will be cornered and will die without a doubt. Lai Wen was silent for a moment and nodded, but I'm not that ruthless. If Boss Lai says it like that, I'm afraid I don't have the ability to enter your collection room. Su Yun said, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for someone to sneak in, right? Lai Wen's face was a bit melancholy. Yes, I've always been confident that no one has seen more than me. Even a powerful mechanism expert wouldn't have the chance to break in. I'm afraid there is only one person in the world who can come in. Su Yun drank a mouthful of water. Then I'm even more curious about who can go in. Shadowless godly thief. Lai Wen said lightly. Su Yun tried to make himself look calm. Shadowless godly thief. Hee, legend says that no place can stop this man. As long as he wants to get something, he will definitely get it. Lai Wen nodded, he wouldn't deny this. But Su Yun slowly said, Shadowless godly thief has already left the world of thieves, right? Indeed, he has already left this world. Lai Wen said. Then no one in this world can enter Boss Lai's collection room. Su Yun pretended to be surprised. Lai Wen shook his head. Shadowless godly thief is not here, but his daughter. You're saying that the person who stole from your collection room is Shadowless godly thief's daughter? Although Su Yun already knew the answer, he still had an exaggerated expression on his face. He was very surprised. He has a daughter? Whether Shadowless godly thief had a daughter or not, Su Yun knew better than Lai Wen. Lai Wen sighed, I just confirmed it because the technique is too similar. Technique? Su Yun was startled. Shadowless godly thief once visited me. Lai Wen's eyes flashed with a cold light. His technique is too powerful. I've never seen someone with this kind of ability. Chapter 30-36. Su Yun deliberately asked, What about the daughter of Shadowless? Is his daughter also very skilled? Like father, like daughter. Lai Wen said, She is the same as her father. They are both highly skilled thieves. I still don't understand how she avoided the traps I set up. If it wasn't for me coincidentally going to the collection room that day, I'm afraid she would have already left. Speaking of this, Lai Wen's face showed endless fear. This was obviously something he didn't dare to imagine. If Xia Qiuyu really succeeded that night, Lai Wen probably wouldn't have the time to go to Africa. If he wasn't seriously ill for 3 to 5 months, it would be a waste of the priceless beast head. So, she is indeed a powerful character. Su Yun, since Boss Lai has already caught her, then, why didn't you deal with her? Why did you put her under house arrest? Lai Wen paused and didn't answer. Su Yun realized that he was still on guard. Based on my understanding of Boss Lai, you wouldn't easily let go of the daughter of someone who once stole from you, right? Are you going to slowly torture her? Torture her? Lai Wen smiled bitterly. I wouldn't dare. I treat her like a grandmother and serve her well every day. Su Yun knew why Lai Wen did this, but he still pretended to be confused. Why? As far as I know, Boss Lai isn't a philanthropist, and you're not a person who likes to repay evil with good, right? Lai Wen seemed to be very helpless about this matter. I'm not a person who repays evil with good. I also want her to pay the price, but who told her to be valuable? Lai Wen didn't say anything more. Su Yun was also a smart person in his eyes. Some things didn't need to be explained. He believed that he could understand. Su Yun, if you met someone who gave you trouble, but you found that this person was useful to you, what would you do? Lai Wen asked. Su Yun smiled. I would make the same choice as Boss Lai. Lai Wen paused for a moment. A lot of things are like this. Su Yun, Boss Lai has already made the best choice. If it was anyone else, they would have made the same choice. But I was forced to make this choice. I had no other choice. Lai Wen said, this was not a choice made after careful consideration. Because you didn't have the opportunity to think carefully. Su Yun, what else can you do? Lai Wen knew that Su Yun was right. What if we can't convince her? Find someone else and continue to persuade her. Su Yun's answer was very simple. Lai Wen's eyes suddenly lit up. Su Yun, you can even solve the matter of Zhong Jiuyu. If you were to help me solve this matter, what are your chances of winning? Su Yun shook his head without hesitation. Boss Lai, this is different. I have no confidence at all. Why? Lai Wen was puzzled. Su Yun was very confident when he faced Zhong Jiu's problem. Regarding Miss Zhong, I didn't know it was her at first. I just believed that once things got out of hand, I could forcefully suppress them. Su Yun, I just didn't expect an accident to happen. Lai Wen paused for a moment. This guy is really... Fortunately, there was an accident. If he really fell out with the Zhong family, he would have caused a lot of trouble for himself. But it's different this time. This is a matter of repaying evil with good. I don't have any confidence in coaxing girls. Su Yun refused verbally, but in his heart, he was calling for Xia Qiuyu's problem to be handed over to him. Lai Wen looked at Su Yun and frowned. Su Yun explained, Boss Lai, you know where I come from. There aren't many women where I come from. Every day, I hang out with a bunch of sweaty and smelly men. I really don't have any experience with girls. Lai Wen sighed. This isn't something that can be solved with experience. Boss Lai, it's not that I don't want to help you solve your problem. It's just that this kind of thing isn't suitable for me to do. I don't have such meticulous thoughts. Su Yun, I also don't understand women's hearts. Lai Wen suddenly fell into deep thought. Previously, when he dealt with Xia Qiuyu, he found people who understood women's hearts. But Xia Qiuyu didn't care about those people's tricks. Lai Wen sized up Su Yun. This guy doesn't understand women's hearts? If it was a guy who didn't understand women's hearts doing this, would it have the opposite effect? Su Yun, what if I insist on you doing this? Lai Wen suddenly asked. Su Yun shrugged. Boss Lai, I already said that I'm not suitable for this, so I can't give you any guarantees. Lai Wen nodded. If you insist on me doing it, then I can't do anything. You're the boss, so I'll do whatever you want me to do. But I have to tell you responsibly that I definitely won't be able to do it well. Su Yun's words left no room for negotiation. Lai Wen had a headache again. Then I really can't use talents indiscriminately. I'm a rough person. Su Yun, Boss Lai, just leave the rough work to me. As for dealing with women, let others do it. Okay. Since you're a rough person, then accompany me to do a rough thing this afternoon. Lai Wen laughed and patted Su Yun's shoulder. Let me see your methods. Su Yun nodded calmly on the surface, but he was a bit disappointed. This Lai Wen was giving him too much face. If he said that it wasn't suitable, he really wouldn't let him do it? No matter what, he should let him try. That way, Su Yun could at least meet with Xia Qiuyu and let her know the current situation. This was great. Lai Wen directly arranged for him to do the rough work, and didn't even mention the matter of persuading Xia Qiuyu. Su Yun screamed in his heart. I'm just being King modest. Do you really think I don't have the ability to coax women? Since Lai Wen had already made his decision, Su Yun couldn't say anything else and could only accept it. At 3:00 in the afternoon, Su Yun sat in an off-road vehicle under Lai Wen's arrangement. Lai Wen still gave Su Yun face and let Su Yun sit in the same car as him. He didn't let him sit in the same car as the other subordinates. The car went straight to the mountainous outskirts of Huxiong City. There were many mountains in Huxiong City. One could go to Yuelu Mountain if they wanted to explore the ancient world. Black Elk Peak had a heavenly abode, and Dawu Mountain was the peak of Buddhism. Today, they were going to Shermen Mountain in the outskirts of Zhu County. This place was very remote and sparsely populated. Most of the locals had left the mountain to live in the city. Because it was sparsely populated, it became a place where people liked to do business. Of course, the transactions here were basically shady. If they could see the light, they wouldn't have driven hundreds of kilometers to this place. When the car arrived at Shermen Mountain, Su Yun knew that there must be something to trade today. Seeing Lai Wen like this, it was obvious that he was the buyer. He didn't bring any treasures. Maybe there was a new product unearthed. After entering Shermen Mountain, the road started to bumpy. When they arrived at their destination, Lai Wen rubbed his temples uncomfortably. He still hadn't slept enough. Su Yun looked out the window. There were many cars. It seemed that Boss Lai wasn't the only one who came to see this guy today. Since Lai Wen said that there was rough work to do, it was obviously to remind Su Yun that today's matter might not be so smooth. Where there was competition, there would be tricks and underhanded tricks. This was something that couldn't be avoided. None of the people who came today are good. They are all scoundrels. Lai Wen smiled at Su Yun. Don't be polite to them later. Su Yun nodded. Understood. At this time, the car door was opened by the driver. After Su Yun got out, Lai Wen followed Su Yun out. Chapter 30-37. Lai Wen's so-called rough work was actually to rob some good goods. This was a distribution point of Xionghu. Every 1st and 15th day of the year, an organization called Country Bumpkin would arrange for people to come here to sell their stolen goods. Although the name Country Bumpkin was a bit low, this organization was not low at all. No one knew how long this organization had been established. However, some of the things they had done were very famous in Lai Wen's circle. Even Lai Wen, who used to be a grave robber, admired them very much. This group of people was really capable. At the beginning of the excavation of the highest level tomb in the Western Zhou dynasty, the highest standard tomb 88, which was the work of the Country Bumpkin. The inspectors actually saw mineral water bottles in the tomb, but there were very few unearthed cultural relics. This tomb was previously identified as the tomb of a king of a vassal state. Later, it was suspected to be the tomb of the Duke of Zhou. However, in the end, because the unearthed artifacts were not conclusively identified, the identity of the tomb owner was still unknown. From this matter, it could be seen that the Country Bumpkin was too ruthless. Such a big tomb, but there was nothing valuable left. There was also an ancient tomb with 18 blocks, which was also destroyed by the Country Bumpkin. The soil of the tomb was sandy, and there were repeated dangers of collapsing. However, even under the danger of collapse, the Country Bumpkin still arranged for people to enter the southern chamber. There were many tombs in Chu, but 9 out of 10 tombs were empty. Most of them were stolen by the Country Bumpkin organization. Fortunately, this collapsed tomb did not give the Country Bumpkin a chance to steal everything, so they still unearthed some exquisite bronze artifacts. The tomb owner was also considered a high-ranking official of Chu by archaeologists. One could imagine how many good things the Country Bumpkin had obtained. The Country Bumpkin organization became famous a long time ago. That was also their biggest failure. Later, they were ridiculed by many people. It was because of this ridicule that the Country Bumpkin organization was ruthless to ancient tombs, emptying every tomb they saw. In the Lion Mountain tomb, the Country Bumpkin people had a guilty conscience and were in a hurry. They actually missed a few sealed side chambers on both sides of the Lion Mountain tomb tunnel. This omission allowed a large number of cultural relics and treasures to escape disaster. Later, after being discovered by the archaeology organization, the Country Bumpkin became a joke in the tomb robbing world. The gold thread jade garment found in the tomb was considered to be the most exquisite jade garment found by Hua Xia. There were close to 5,000 pieces of jade, all of which were of the highest quality. It was a pity that the golden threads on the golden thread jade clothes had been taken away by the Country Bumpkins. As for why the Country Bumpkin only removed the golden thread, no one knew. He was afraid that they had encountered some vicious trap or a huge dumpling. Otherwise, why would they not take away the things they had already obtained? Lai Wen was very familiar with the Country Bumpkin people. When he arrived, he immediately went up to greet them. Everyone has worked hard. You must have found something good again, right? Ha ha ha, Boss Lai must be joking. If we don't bring out something of the highest quality, I'm afraid you won't even take a fancy to it. The other party was a dark-skinned and skinny guy with a pair of triangular eyes and a hooked nose. He looked very ugly, and was definitely a very violent guy. Then you think too highly of me, Lai Wen said cheerfully. On the opposite side of the dark-skinned and skinny guy with triangular eyes, a man with a big belly and greasy hair walked towards Lai Wen casually. This man with sleek hair had tight facial features and thick arms. He had inherited a valuable agarwood fragrance around his neck. His wrist was wrapped with red sandalwood prayer beads, and he wore several rings on his fingers. Some were made of jade, some were made of gold, and some were made of diamonds. Boss Lai's finger is also priceless. The greasy hair man smiled. Although he spoke with a smile, his eyes were looking at Lai Wen's hand with evil intentions. The blood jade board in Lai Wen's hand was obviously more valuable than all the rings on his hand. Fatty Dai, I didn't expect you to come too. Lai Wen was obviously disgusted with this greasy hair man. I shouldn't have come if I knew this. Ayaya, if Boss Lai said this, then I shouldn't have come. Fatty Dai waved his hand. If you really can't do it, I'll leave now. Lai Wen certainly wouldn't believe Fatty Dai's nonsense. Okay, if you are so sincere, I won't stop you. Ha 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 ha. Fatty Dai suddenly laughed a few times. Boss Lai still likes to joke. I come here for thousands of miles. If Boss Lai really thinks it's bad luck, then you can only move yourself. It's not bad luck. Lai Wen shook his head. I'm just a little unhappy. Fatty Dai didn't mind being said by Lai Wen. I'm also unhappy. Can't one of us take a step back? If you want to take a step back, I welcome it. Lai Wen stopped paying attention to this greasy hair man after he finished speaking. Fatty Dai was still shouting. How about this, Boss Lai, in the future, you come on the first day and I will come on the 15th day. This way, we don't have to see each other. Country bumpkins came to sell stolen goods. The first day was all low-end goods, and the 15th day was all high-end and valuable goods. If they didn't have a lot of free time, powerful big bosses like Lai Wen and Fatty Dai wouldn't come here to look for treasures. Although Fatty Dai was still shouting, Lai Wen didn't pay attention to him. This fatty just had a bad mouth. Every time there was good stuff, Fatty Dai would fight for it. In this circle, there were rules in this circle. Raising the price wasn't a malicious competition. The problem was that Fatty Dai was annoyed the most. He knew that Lai Wen had a good eye for things. The things he liked would not be bad, but he liked to compete with Lai Wen. Lai Wen was disgusted in his heart, but he couldn't say anything. There were many things that couldn't be helped. Every time Fatty Dai and Lai Wen competed, Lai Wen would be speechless. Sometimes, when the two of them worked together, they could even double the price of an item. Although this wasn't an auction, the competition here wasn't any more intense than an auction. Everyone's wallet is full, right? Ha ha ha, the big money Boss Lai is here. I'm afraid we can't buy things so cheaply. Fatty Dai began to talk nonsense again. He liked to raise the price, but now he was splashing dirty water on Lai Wen. Most people who knew the rules wouldn't patronize the things that others liked when they offered a good price. It was impolite. But Fatty Dai didn't care. His strength was equal to Lai Wen's. They were both people who didn't lack money. Moreover, Fatty Dai was not from Xionghu. He didn't worry about any conflict of interest with Lai Wen in Xionghu. So he didn't give Lai Wen face every time. Su Yun looked around. There were several people who came here to look for treasures. It could be seen that they were all big families. Ordinary people were not qualified to come here. After all, it was just unearthed. If they weren't old bones in the industry, they really didn't dare to make a judgment. The value of antiques was not restricted at all. Who could tell how much they were worth? Who had the final say on what basis to give it this value? So this thing was really not something that ordinary people could play with. If you wanted to become rich overnight by antiques, it was better to buy lottery tickets and play two-colored balls. Maybe the probability of getting that thing was higher. In the antique market, 8 or 9 out of 10 people were cheated. How many self-righteous people had collected things that they thought were valuable, but in fact were worthless? This situation was too common. If you didn't have the diamond, don't provoke this kind of porcelain work. Because of carelessness, families were broken and people died. In the mainland of Huaxia, this happened all the time. Once people entered this circle, there were very few who could become rich and powerful. There were a lot of people whose families were broken and people died. Chapter 30-38 Fatty Dai followed Lai Wen wherever he went. Su Yun smiled slightly and whispered to Lai Wen, "Boss, this is a wicked person." Lai Wen shook his head and didn't care if his voice was heard by Fatty Dai. "I have been in the antique market for so many years, and the best thing I have encountered is this weirdo." Su Yun laughed twice. "Do you want to teach him a lesson later? If he does something wrong, then teach him a lesson." Lai Wen didn't mean to be polite, but this guy has a characteristic. He is thick-skinned, and the things he does make you have no reason to teach him a lesson directly. "If I want to teach him a lesson, do I need any reason?" "Su Yun, I just don't like him." Lai Wen was stunned. He didn't expect that Su Yun was sometimes more talented than him in being unreasonable. "What's your plan?" Lai Wen asked. Su Yun looked not far away. "In the car over there is an old man who has been looking over here." "Who is he to Fatty Dai?" Lai Wen looked over and was slightly stunned. "That is indeed Fatty Dai's car. I didn't expect Fatty Dai to invite an identification expert." "Doesn't he understand?" Su Yun asked. "Fatty Dai is only someone who knows the surface of things. He doesn't know if he understands or doesn't know." Lai Wen said, "If he feels that something is not bad, he will compete with me when he sees that I also have an idea. But this is the first time I have seen him bring an identification expert." Su Yun had an idea and nodded. "If Boss Dai wants to teach him a lesson, I have a way now." Lai Wen's eyes lit up. "Say it." "Since he likes to bid with Boss Lai, then Boss Lai can find something that is easy to notice and deliberately give a high price." Su Yun smiled slightly. "What if he doesn't bid with me?" Lai Wen was stunned. Su Yun trusted Lai Wen and said, "This depends on Boss Lai's ability to see the goods. I don't know what is the most eye-catching thing, but you do." Lai Wen nodded in realization. Indeed, he could see that some things were worthless, but some people couldn't. The country bumpkins were very shrewd when it came to dealing with the goods. They didn't set a price and let the buyer pay the price. If they felt that it was appropriate, they would make a move. If they felt that it was inappropriate, they would stay. Therefore, the people who scouted for goods had to be clear about the market. The more accurate the appraisal of an item, the more money they could make. For example, if a country bumpkin thought that something was worth 10,000 yuan, they would definitely not sell it if you offered 9,000 yuan. If you offered 20,000 yuan, they would not refund the extra 10,000 yuan. If you give them 10,000 yuan, it's exactly the price they want, and they'll make a move. Therefore, estimating the price was very important. For Lai Wen, who had worked as a gravedigger and spent every day in the antique collecting world, this was not a difficult task. "Okay, I got it." Lai Wen nodded. Eye-catching was a common occurrence in the collecting circle. Even the veterans couldn't avoid it. Although the country bumpkins were well known throughout the country, they would not fake. Lai Wen knew this very well, because with his experience, he could see some fake goods. Whether eye-catching would happen or not was often decided in the minute before the transaction. Although the moment was short, it tested the collector's mentality, psychological quality, experience, and many other things. Often, it was the mentality that determined whether the collector would choose to gamble in the case of uncertainty. After all, appraisal was a kind of eye study. It was a comparison, elimination, and arrangement. When one had enough experience, the certainty of buying the real thing would be greater. When one didn't have enough experience in collecting and encountered something that couldn't be interpreted with one's experience and knowledge, one thought that the opportunity didn't wait for anyone. Once one missed it, it would be gone. Then, one had to gamble. The result of this gamble was often eye-catching. Many people were like this. They could not understand, but they had to buy it. After buying it, they would look for someone to read the book. When they found that they had bought the wrong book, they would throw it under the bed. Don't think that the collection army of Huaxia had tens of millions of people, which was far more than the counterfeiters. However, the behavior of collecting was an individual behavior. That was to say, when a collector carried out a sale in the market, he was actually facing a huge group of counterfeiters alone. It was like a game. No matter how broad a collector's vision was, there were blind spots that he couldn't see. In most cases, People who encountered eye-catching would have an imbalance in their mentality and long to become rich overnight. Most of the sellers in the collection market aimed at this mentality. Those various versions of magical stories were also used to stir the nerves of collectors. Once the string of becoming rich overnight was stirred, then the collector would definitely be trapped. In fact, in the collecting circle, many people pretended to know when they didn't know. They obviously didn't know, but they pretended to know very well. The seller led the collector with the momentum. The collector also climbed the slope, feeling complacent and relaxed his vigilance. Buyers who really knew the business often pretended not to know. How could they pretend to know? Fatty Dye brought an appraisal expert this time. Obviously, he had been eye-catching recently. Fatty Dye was very vain. Lai Wen knew this very well. This was Fatty Dye's weakness. If you wanted to collect, you had to have a calm heart. Vanity was absolutely unacceptable. Lai Wen knew the truth of this very well. It was useless to bring an appraisal expert. If you didn't want to be eye-catching, then don't enter the circle of antique collectors. No one who entered this circle would not be eye-catching. So what if they were experts? They had been doing research in this field for a lifetime. They had knowledge, standards, identity, and status. Awesome. However, as a scientific researcher, their understanding of the market was far less than their academic understanding. Especially if they didn't understand the market counterfeiting. They would also lose if they used their academic attainments to confront the counterfeiters. The reason was very simple. Their research results were also used by the counterfeiters to deceive the researchers. Researchers, due to their lack of standards and market experience, were easily fooled by a story and were easily tricked. They didn't know how to look at things objectively. Their judgments were too subjective. Once they were subjective, they were not far from being eye-catching. It was not a problem for Lai Wen to fool Fatty Dye and the expert. It was not difficult at all to find a fake object that could lead the academic to be fooled. Hey G, it's almost time. Shouldn't you take out any good things to show us? After Lai Wen made the decision, he walked in front of the dark and skinny guy again. Hey G, the leader of these country bumpkins, was a senior grave robber. Seeing that the big boss had already arrived, Hey G felt that there was no need to wait any longer. He smiled and said, "Since Boss Lai wants to see the goods, then let's start." At this time, more than a dozen bosses who came to Ta Ba gathered around. Fatty Dye sneered, "Ayaya, Boss Lai's face is big. Hey G, are you looking down on us?" Hey G smiled, "Boss Dye, don't say that. It's time now. Even if Boss Lai doesn't come, we should start. Okay, cut the crap. Let Boss Lai see if there is anything good." Fatty Dye grinned and thought that he must fight with Lai Wen this time. He wanted to make Lai Wen feel uncomfortable. He didn't know why, but Fatty Dye was so annoying. "Don't worry, there will be good things to satisfy you today," Hey G said as he asked people to start taking the treasures out of the car. There were quite a few priceless items in this simple and crude trading center. Su Yun came to this kind of place for the first time. To be honest, he was really curious. Chapter 3039. Lai Wen's eyes never left He Ji and his men who were holding the goods. He could make some judgments based on how careful they were with an item. Most of the time, the judgment of a fake was not based on the item, but on the attitude of the person who made the judgment. This was very important. From this point, one could see Lai Wen's practical experience in the market. For a fake, the seller must be very careful, but how much of this caution was acting was up to people to judge. Su Yun was not interested in this. Looking at the treasures that were taken out one by one, Su Yun did not know the value of these things. Even if he knew the value of these things, he was not interested in collecting them. These things should be put in places that could be exhibited in the country and let more people see them. Places like museums should be open for free exhibitions. Let more people know the meaning of these things. His personal collection was meaningless. It was better to donate the money to Two Hope primary schools. Although Lai Wen was a shameless collector, Su Yun still appreciated his charity. No matter what his purpose was, he did things that many people could not do. Whether he was a disgusting person or not, he spent a lot of money on charity. This was a point that Su Yun had to remember for him. Today, you are all here. The dark and thin guy smiled. Those who were there to collect were all with the mentality of picking up scraps. The upper, middle, and lower levels of the antique industry were antique shops, hanging goods shops, second-hand shops, and stalls. Second-hand shops and stalls dealt in random pieces of antiques and toys. They could not be included in the antique chamber of commerce. People in the industry did not recognize them as antique shops. Today, Heiji's place was not even a stall. It was simply a mobile stall, not to mention an antique shop. But most of the scraps happened in this situation. Once an antique shop was established, it would not give people a chance to pick up scraps. More importantly, Heiji came here to sell his stolen goods. He was working for the Country Bumpkin organization. There were too many good things, including bronze, gold, silver, porcelain, jade, all kinds of calligraphy and paintings, steel inscriptions, etc. Everything was there. This time, the most eye-catching items were probably the two pieces of porcelain. Yuan Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase and Yuan glazed red goblet, two treasures of the Yuan dynasty. Who knew which noble's grave of the Yuan dynasty had been dug up by this country bumpkin again? Boss Lai, you're an expert. Heiji knew very well who was the most professional here, so he placed the Yuan glaze inner red goblet closest to Lai Wan. Generally, people who didn't know the trade wouldn't dare to offer a price for such a precious item. Lai Wan was very knowledgeable. Once he gave a price, it would be very difficult for others to give a higher price. This was because this thing was too expensive. If they gave the wrong price, they would suffer a huge loss. This Yuan glaze inner red goblet, with a flat mouth, a bowl-shaped deep belly, and slender goblet shaped like bamboo joints. The fetal quality was delicate, with a greenish-white glaze, warm and glossy. Inscriptions were imprinted on the inside of the mouth. Plum blossom and chrysanthemum patterns were imprinted from the bottom of the inscriptions to the bottom of the mouth. There were a few pieces of red glaze spots on the bottom and the outer wall of the artifact. There was an obvious halo around the spots. The color was gorgeous, and with the green spots within the spots, it looked natural and unrestrained. The lower part of the belly was piled up with a dragon, bending and crawling. The appearance of this cup was no different from the ordinary goblets popular during the Song and Yuan dynasties. If one looked carefully, they would find that the structure of the bottom of the cup and the goblet was very strange. The upper end of the goblet was slightly retracted into the mouth, and it was embedded with the large conical tenon at the bottom of the cup. There was a gap between the two to allow it to rotate. The design was ingenious, and the production was excellent. It was a rare treasure among wine vessels. Lai Wen's heart was moved. This was obviously a good thing. However, he remained calm and collected. He knew that once he said that he was interested in something, Fatty Dai would definitely make trouble. I'm more interested in that one. Lai Wen suddenly pointed at the Yuan Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase. This plum vase had a small mouth and a short neck. The mouth edge was flat, and the shoulders were smooth. The shoulders gradually converged below the shoulders, and the bottom was slightly slanted outwards. The belly of the plum vase was engraved with a dragon chasing a flame pearl. The pattern was commonly known as the pearl-chasing dragon pattern. The dragon circled around the bottle. The dragon's head was raised, its horns were slightly tilted back, and the dragon's eyes were protruding. It looked bright and full of spirit. The blue glaze decorated the eyeballs. It was even more prominent against the blue and white glaze. Presumably, this was the so-called finishing touch. The dragon opened its mouth and spat out its tongue, revealing its sharp teeth. Its upper and lower jaw curled up. Its neck was slender, and there was a bunch of long hair fluttering in the wind. The pattern on its back was vivid. Its outstretched limbs had sharp fingertips. The auxiliary pattern was 4 flame-shaped clouds, which set off the dragon's all-powerful momentum and soaring in the vast sky. The plum vase had a beautiful shape, exquisite and vivid pattern, and the blue glaze was bright and pure. No matter how one looked at it, it was more valuable than the Yuan-Ji red goblet. Boss Lai is indeed Boss Lai. Heiji calmly brought the Yuan-Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase in front of Lai Wen. Lai Wen looked very carefully. I'll pay this price. Lai Wen raised 3 fingers. 4 million. Fatty Dai didn't even think about it and followed up. Lai Wen sneered and didn't look at Fatty Dai. He still raised 3 fingers to Heiji, 30 million. Fatty Dai was immediately stunned. A trace of disbelief flashed across Heiji's face. When the porcelain got off the car, Lai Wen had been observing. Heiji's people were very careful with the 2 porcelains. But when they took the Yuan-Ji red goblet, they looked more nervous. And when they took the Yuan-Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase, although they were careful, there was no worry or tension between their eyebrows. Lai Wen naturally understood what this meant. Besides, when the Yuan-Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase was brought to Lai Wen observed it very carefully. Although the Yuan-Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase had a beautiful shape, exquisite and vivid pattern, and the blue glaze was bright and pure. The soaring dragon on the top was also lively, but Lai Wen still doubted it. The auxiliary pattern of the plum vase was 4 flame-shaped clouds. Lai Wen's experience told him that something was wrong here. If it was genuine, the small pearl attached to the flame root of the 4 flame-shaped clouds should be like a floating coral branch. However, the small pearl attached to the flame-shaped clouds on the plum vase didn't have that kind of floating feeling. This was probably the only flaw in this super fake. Heiji tried to make himself look expressionless. This time, he didn't intend to sell this fake to Lai Wen. Based on their years of knowledge, Heiji was very clear about Lai Wen's skills. Heiji wanted Lai Wen to take a fancy to the real Yuan-Ji red goblet. Once Lai Wen could offer a high price for the Yuan-Ji red goblet, then this fake Yuan-Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase would definitely be fancied by others. This would attract other people's attention. But who knew that Lai Wen actually took a fancy to the Yuan-Ji blue glazed white dragon plum vase, but had no interest in the Yuan-Ji red goblet? 30 million, this price was shocking enough. However, to be honest, if this thing wasn't a fake and was a treasure, then it wouldn't be something that could be bought with 30 million. So Heiji couldn't help but be surprised by Lai Wen's price. He didn't understand what Lai Wen meant. Wait a minute. Fatty Dai was obviously shocked. Heiji, wait a minute. Don't sell it yet. I also took a fancy to this thing. Heiji smiled in his heart. He knew that this fatty always liked to snatch Lai Wen's things. There's no rule of waiting here, Lai Wen said. Okay. Heiji, I'll give you 31 million. Fatty Dai said as he waved his hand fiercely, signaling his men to call the experts in the car. Chapter 30-40. When Fatty Dai waved his hand to call for reinforcements, Lai Wen calmly raised the price, 35 million yuan. Heiji, we are old acquaintances. This is not an auction. You can call out the price one by one. You should follow the rules, right? What rules? There are no rules here. Fatty Dai hurriedly said, Heiji, he has seen the goods. I have also seen it. I haven't thought about the price. Shouldn't you wait for me? What if I give you 50 million? Do you admit defeat? Heiji's brain was also working quickly at this time. For such a fake, anyone who took it back would keep it. No one would know whether it was real or not. As long as they thought it was real, then it was real. Everyone knew the rules in the industry. If you were cheated, you had to admit it. But Heiji couldn't see through this. Was Lai Wen really cheated? The appraisal expert had already arrived. Heiji frowned. Although he looked down on these appraisal experts and thought that they knew everything with a little research, they knew nothing about the counterfeiting market. But Heiji was still a little worried. Who knew if this guy would really see through it? Once he saw through it and didn't want it, and Lai Wen didn't mean to, then this thing couldn't be sold here. Yuan-Ji blue glaze white dragon plum vase. After the appraisal expert arrived, he carefully analyzed it. He held his glasses with one hand and squinted his eyes to observe. He was really serious. The mouth is small, the neck is short, the mouth is flat, the shoulders are smooth, below the shoulders it gradually converges, towards the bottom it is slightly slanted. The appraisal expert muttered softly as he observed. He was obviously very educated and was a knowledgeable person. But this fake Yuan Ji blue glaze white dragon plum vase was made by a knowledgeable person. It was also an academic. Therefore, the appraisal expert dealt with a place that could reflect the authenticity of this thing very carefully. The appraisal expert looked at it for more than 10 minutes. Lai Wen also showed dissatisfaction many times during this process. Fatty Dai was also very satisfied that Hei Ji didn't come to a conclusion for a long time. Finally, the appraisal expert finished. He looked at the Yuan Ji blue glaze white dragon plum vase with satisfaction and whispered a few words in Fatty Dai's ear. Fatty Dai's eyes were glowing. He laughed out loud. "Boss Lai, you only gave such a small amount of money for such a treasure. No wonder Hei Ji didn't agree to sell it to you." Lai Wen glared at Fatty Dai. "Fatty Dai, do you know what is the most disgusting thing about you?" Fatty Dai shook his head disapprovingly. "I think I'm good." "That's the most disgusting part of you. You're just following the trend." Lai Wen spat, showing his disgust. However, at this moment, Lai Wen was ecstatic in his heart. For such a fake bottle, the production cost of 80,000 to 100,000 yuan was nothing. This bullshasterisk tea expert was too professional and self-righteous, so he didn't consider too many details. Due to his lack of experience, he was completely fooled by this fake. "Boss Lai, I don't like to hear that." Fatty Dai said, "Do you think others don't have the right to take a fancy to the things you like? I also like it. How did I offend you?" Lai Wen looked like he was choked to the point of being speechless. 45 million. Fatty Dai snorted. He had an attitude that he had to get it. Just now, the appraisal expert told him that such a top-grade Yuan Dynasty plum bottle was worth 50 million. It was too rare. Therefore, Fatty Dai was so confident that he called for a high price. Lai Wen didn't think much and immediately followed, 48 million. "Since you want to do this, don't blame me for competing with you." 50 million. Fatty Dai was trembling with anger. Lai Wen pointed at Fatty Dai fiercely. "Okay, you win." Fatty Dai gritted his teeth and said, "No one can take away what I want." Fatty Dai had brought more than 50 million yuan with him, but it was emptied in an instant. This meant that Fatty Dai had no competitiveness in other aspects. "Fatty Dai, you forced me to do this." 60 million. "Do you still dare to follow?" Lai Wen said. Fatty Dai's face changed because he didn't bring so much money. This detail was caught by Su Yun. He immediately said, "Boss Lai, we didn't bring so much money. There is only 5 in the card." "What did you say?" Lai Wen turned back and stared at Su Yun. This was all an act, but he didn't understand why Su Yun stopped him at this time. But soon Lai Wen understood. "There is only 50 million in the card." Su Yun said faintly and secretly gave Lai Wen a look. 50 million. Lai Wen looked at Hei Ji. "I saw this thing first. 50 million, I should take it first." "Don't. Boss Lai, wait a minute. I'm sorry. If you have 50 million, I have 51 million. Fatty Dai took out all his money. Lai Wen gritted his teeth and looked at Su Yun. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. "I really don't have so much." Lai Wen looked depressed. At this time, Hei Ji seemed to suddenly understand the play in front of him. Lai Wen, you are indeed an old fox in the antique collecting world." Lai Wen's play made Hei Ji unable to distinguish the real from the fake. If he didn't stop at this time, he would really think that Lai Wen made a mistake. Since Fatty Dai trusted the expert so much, Hei Ji didn't need to pity him. When he knew that this was a fake in the future, he would find trouble with the expert. "Boss Dai, then I will wrap up this UNG blue glazed white dragon plum vase for you." Hei Ji smiled slightly. Fatty Dai acted like he got a treasure. No, I will do it myself." Then let's deal with the money first. Heiji signaled his men and Fatty Dai to do the transfer. Fatty Dai looked at Lai Wen proudly. Boss Lai, I'm sorry. This thing is so rare. If you have enough money, you won't let me take it away. You will do the same thing as me, so don't hate me. Fatty Dai, you will regret it if you compete with me. Lai Wen's words had a double meaning. It was a pity that Fatty Dai was still immersed in the sea of joy and didn't realize that he was fooled. Fatty Dai made a mistake, so Lai Wen was naturally very happy. Soon, he bought the UNG red spinner glass at the price of tens of millions. Fatty Dai had no money, so there was no way to compete. However, Fatty Dai didn't mind that Lai Wen bought the UNG red spinner glass at all. After all, it was just a glass, and he bought a plum vase. If the UNG red spinner glass could be sold for 20 million, then his plum vase could be sold for 200 million. That was what Fatty Dai thought. In the future, there would be one more rare object in his house. This was more than anything else. After all the dust settled, Fatty Dai was overjoyed. Lai Wen had to suppress the ecstasy in his heart. This time, Fatty Dai threw 50 million. It was so cool. This UNG red spinner glass was worth at least 30 million. He gave Heiji a price of 20 million. Heiji also knew what he meant. Fatty Dai made a mistake because of Lai Wen, so Heiji made 50 million for nothing. Therefore, this UNG red spinner glass should be sold to Lai Wen at a loss of 10 million. Heiji was a sensible person. Everything was solved perfectly without revealing the mountain and leaking the water. Although Su Yun didn't do much, he was the biggest hero. He was aware of Fatty Dai's reaction in time, so everything went smoothly. Lai Wen decided to express his gratitude to Su Yun. Chapter 3041. Bro, let's not talk about how happy I was when Fatty Dai hit my eyes. Just this yuan glaze inner red wine spinning glass saved me 10 million yuan. I have to express my gratitude. Lai Wen grinned and laughed. Seeing Fatty Dai not far away still foolishly proud, Lai Wen's heart rolled with an indescribable pleasure. Boss Lai, you're treating me like an outsider. I took your money to do things for you. If I don't do anything and take money for free, no one will agree. Su Yun said lightly. This is outside of taking money to do what you should do. Lai Wen slapped his thigh. Since this yuan glaze inner red wine spinning glass saved me 10 million yuan, then I'll give this money to you as a bonus. Su Yun smiled. Isn't it too much? This money is nothing. As long as you work hard for me, I promise you can earn more. Lai Wen said confidently. Su Yun, I just returned to Huaxia and Boss Lai gave me so much money. Aren't you afraid that I'll slack off in the future? Slack off? Lai Wen was stunned. 10 million yuan should be enough for a Huaxia person to live in a second-tier city for a lifetime. Su Yun said. Lai Wen shook his head. 10 million yuan? This was not money for him at all. With this money, he could live in a third-tier city for a lifetime, and it would be a good life. A house in a third-tier city was at most 1 million yuan. The rest of the money was enough to pay interest in the bank for a year. But what if he went to a first-tier city? He probably wouldn't have much left after buying a house. What if he still wanted to drive a luxury car? How much did a Maserati cost? How much did a Land Rover or Jaguar cost? How much did a Ferrari cost? 10 million yuan was really not enough for an expensive exterior decoration. Lai Wen's big villa in Xianghu didn't cost much money to build the foundation and the house, but the decoration cost tens of millions. Tens of millions in a small city could be used to build an entire building for a village. But he just decorated it himself. This was the meaning of being rich. Only rich people could do this kind of thing. Without money, what was there to do? What did it mean to be rich? Could a person with 100 million be considered rich? In today's society where wealth was increasing at a terrifying rate, this amount of money was not considered rich at all. Look at those real tycoons. Their money was calculated in tens of billions, and it was multiplied by 6 because it was all in US dollars. The concept of rich people was to have an endless stream of money, and not to just live off the little bit in their hands. Those who live off their savings are called misers, not rich people. Su Yun, there's a saying that is very suitable for you. How can a golden unicorn be an object in a pond? Therefore, people like you won't be willing to hold back in a small third-tier city and spend 10 million for the rest of your life. Lai Wen shook his head. Do you know, your limits can't even be seen. Boss Lai, you're wrong about this. Su Yun smiled. Actually, I'm not a greedy person at all. For me, the more money, the better. A little is enough. 10 million is enough for me to start a small business in a small city and live a carefree life. Only a small person would think like that. Lai Wen shook his head. And you are definitely not a small person. Su Yun grinned and waved his hand. Don't laugh at me. What kind of person am I? Lai Wen said very seriously, I've never misjudged a person in my life. Brother, you are a golden dragon. Su Yun smiled in his heart. You're not wrong about this, but you're wrong about what I came to you for. Also, I'm not a golden dragon. I'm Yen Long, a Yen Long with a very bad temper. The deal ended in a farce, and Black Spine made a lot of money. Su Yun had already secretly memorized the license plate number of the truck. After he finished dealing with Xia Qiuyu's matter, he would definitely let the relevant departments investigate the truck. Even if the license plate number was fake, the surveillance of the Skynet operation would definitely be able to find the truck. As long as the truck was found, the whole Country Bumpkin tomb robbing organization could be dug out bit by bit. When the time came, Su Yun would definitely make these bastards pay the price for what they did. These people should be sentenced to life in prison and never come out. What they did was too immoral. Ancient tombs were the wealth of human history. Their value was not just represented by a few cultural relics. Therefore, destroying ancient tombs was an unforgivable crime. Because of the popularity of the tomb-robbing IP, many people joined such organizations. Those who could really join the Country Bumpkin organization were lucky. At least they didn't fall into the trap and follow them into the tomb. Then, they became cannon fodder. Most of the dangerous traps were stepped on by them. Some were used as scapegoats. When there were rice dumplings, they were used as bait to feed the big rice dumplings in the tomb. For those who were unlucky, the tomb robbing organization was a group of scammers. They directly made them pay membership fees, training fees, and tomb practice fees. After paying all the fees, they realized that it was not a tomb robbing organization at all. It was a group of scammers. They either went home empty-handed or joined a group of scammers to cheat newcomers. In short, this kind of thing happened too often in recent years. Therefore, the influence of culture on people was too great. Since Su Yun had the opportunity, he naturally wouldn't miss this kind of thing. Eliminating the tomb-robbing organization might have some impact on the collection circle, but he had to do it. When there was no complete ancient tomb one day, history and archaeology would really have no food to eat. Boss Lai, today you got the cup you wanted. I got the plum vase I wanted. Should we go and celebrate? Fatty Dai suddenly walked over with a smile. This grandson was really cheap. Don't show off when you got a bargain. Showing off would make people very unhappy. Unfortunately, Lai Wen was very clear that the plum vase in his hand was fake, so it didn't have much impact. So you mean, as a local, I should do the hospitality of a host? No, no, no. I don't dare to go if Boss Lai is the host. Fatty Dai laughed. After all, this thing in my hand is worth a lot of money. If Boss Lai is unhappy and sets a trap for me, my things may not come back. Lai Wen smiled disdainfully. I am not that kind of person. Fatty Dai was still full of smiles. Yes, 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 Boss Lai is not that kind of person, but I have to be careful. You can treat me as a villain, Boss Lai. You are a gentleman, you are magnanimous, you are not afraid. Lai Wen's tone was still contemptuous. Of course I am not afraid. This is Lai Wen's territory. Even if you want to do something, you don't have the ability. That's natural. Fatty Dai nodded. If I didn't bring more money today, I wouldn't be able to take this plum vase in Boss Lai's territory. Fatty Dai was deliberately provoking Lai Wen. How could Lai Wen not understand? Actually, I didn't see the plum vase in your hand. I should thank you for buying it. If it was wrong, it would make my heart ache for tens of millions of yuan. Lai Wen said calmly. Fatty Dai was stunned. After all, it was tens of millions of yuan. If it was anyone else, they would feel guilty. But he thought about it again. There was an expert appraising it. Boss Lai, you can continue to fool me. I don't believe your words at all. Then why did you invite me to dinner to celebrate? Aren't you afraid that I will jinx it? Lai Wen provoked. I really don't believe it. Fatty Dai clenched his teeth. He thought that this guy was jealous. Naked jealousy. Well, then I will respectfully accept. Boss Dai, where to eat? Lai Wen really wanted to see how guilty this guy was. Chapter 3042. Fatty Dai stretched out his hand and made a gesture of invitation. Then please get in my car, Boss Lai? Okay. Lai Wen was really fearless. Su Yun did not stop him. Boss, I will follow behind. And Lai Wen nodded and directly got in Fatty Dai's car. Fatty Dai was really surprised. Lai Wen's courage was really good. With Su Yun behind, Lai Wen really had nothing to be afraid of. Su Yun could walk out of the hands of the American arms dealers with bare hands. Lai Wen really couldn't think of anything that Su Yun couldn't do. Su Yun was not worried. After all, this was Lai Wen's territory. Fatty Dai just wanted to show off and make Lai Wen feel uncomfortable. As for other excessive things, Fatty Dai would not do it. Lai Wen gave the expensive yuan glaze red goblet to Su Yun. Su Yun wrapped it up and sat back in their car. The driver immediately followed Fatty Dai's car. The two cars drove for about half an hour and arrived at a more remote place. Fatty Dai had been appreciating Lai Wen's expression in the car. Seeing that the road outside was getting more and more suburban, Fatty Dai did not believe that Lai Wen would not feel nervous. But God knew that Lai Wen was really not nervous at all. He looked out of the window with a smile. Boss Lai, have you been to this place? Fatty Dai asked tentatively. Lai Wen shook his head. Xionghu is so big. How can I have been to every place? Boss Lai, aren't you worried that I'm going to do something to you by bringing you to such a remote place? Fatty Dai laughed. Lai Wen said easily, the things you bought are more valuable than me. You don't need to find this kind of trouble. Boss Lai is really generous. Fatty Dai gave a thumbs up. There are many game shops in Xionghu. They all like to open in this kind of desolate place. The more remote the place is, the rarer the food is. Lai Wen said, you brought me here. I think you must have found a delicious place. Fatty Dai nodded. What Boss Lai said is right. I did book a game store. Lai Wen said, everyone in Huaxia knows that if you want to eat wild game, you must come to the mountains of Xionghu. Only in the mountains of Xionghu can the game be wild and pure enough. Fatty Dai knew that he didn't scare Lai Wen, so he stopped pretending. It seems that Boss Lai is an expert in eating game. I've invited the right person today. Lai Wen smiled without saying a word. After a bumpy journey, they finally arrived at a game store. Looking at the door and the house of the game store, they knew that it was wild enough. The stone house felt really backward. However, the interior of the stone house was still quite luxurious. Whether it was the dining table, dining chairs, bowls, chopsticks, or anything else, everything felt very exquisite. Although it was not luxurious, compared to the exterior, it was still a world of difference. When Su Yun arrived, he immediately got out of the car and followed her in. At this time, Lai Wen and Fatty Dai had already taken their seats. The old expert seriously sat in the seat of the guest of honor. He really regarded himself as a big shot. Lai Wen didn't care about this. It was normal for a person who had been looked down upon to have this kind of self-righteous behavior. Boss Lai, because Professor Zhang is here, you have to suffer a little and be the deputy guest of honor. Fatty Dai laughed. It doesn't matter where I sit. Lai Wen said because he knew in his heart that if he ate with this group of people, he wouldn't have any appetite no matter where he sat. Fatty Dai called the waiter. Tell us about the specialties. We are here to eat game. The rarer it is, the more we eat. Then let's have braised roe deer. The waiter immediately began to recommend dishes. Fatty Dai waved his hand. Roe deer is everywhere in the sparse forests of the northeast, northwest, North and Inner Mongolia. I'm already tired of eating it. Tell me something I haven't eaten before. Then steamed bamboo rat. This is a high-class Yunnan banquet dish. Although many people don't dare to eat it, those who have eaten it all praise it. The waiter said. Fatty Dai was stunned. You also have steamed bamboo rat here? Isn't that a dish from Nanyun? Waiter, are you trying to fool him just because he's not a local? Lai Wen said. Our steamed mountain rats are all mountain rats. You can just tell the truth. The waiter was embarrassed. When he heard that Lai Wen was a local, he stopped talking nonsense. Rare stuff. Fatty Dai said. I want rare stuff to eat. Then stew leeches. High protein. The waiter stopped bragging. Okay. Fatty Dai nodded. Su Yun thought, what kind of taste is this? Isn't it too heavy? Although leeches are indeed high protein and nutritious, this kind of thing is really unbearable to eat. Obviously, leeches are not the taste of Hunan people. Lai Wen also frowned. This thing, only Cambodians like to eat it. What else is delicious? Fried poisonous spider. Su Yun really suspected that the waiter was from Cambodia. He actually had such a Cambodian food style. The spider is fresh. It's black and red in color. It's wrapped with a layer of crisp hard shell. The inside is tender and juicy fresh meat. It's very delicious. Come. I want this. Fatty Dai said. Fry it thoroughly. Fry the toxicity completely. Boss, don't worry. It's absolutely fine. The waiter promised. There's also cream of ant egg porridge. Damn, even the Mexican flavor is coming out. Su Yun looked at the waiter in surprise. Is this a game store? Yes. The waiter said, we have game all over the world. Recently, we also introduced a new dish. I don't know if you dare to try it. Serve it. Fatty Dai didn't even ask. As long as it's a rare dish, I want it all. If it's not rare, I won't eat it. Okay. The waiter clapped his hands. Then you wait. Fatty Dai was also not ambiguous. I'm here to eat rare. If it's not rare, what's the point of eating it? Lai Wen didn't stop him. Anyway, he didn't have the appetite to eat with them. Even if they ordered cow dung, Lai Wen didn't care. Soon, a table of dark cuisine was served. Fruit bat soup, snake heart mixed with wasps, all kinds of things that had never been seen before were served. Su Yun felt disgusted at a glance. The only thing that could be eaten was probably a loach turned into tofu. The appraisal expert really had a good appetite. He didn't care about anything. As long as there was something on the table, he dared to stuff it into his mouth. No matter how disgusting it was, he didn't even frown. Fatty Dai smiled and signaled Lai Wen to eat his chopsticks. Lai Wen didn't move. Fatty Dai, just say it. What's the matter? Boss Lai, we are old friends. I invited you to dinner today because I want to ask how high the value of this UNG blue glazed white dragon plum vase is. Fatty Dai was really shameless. He robbed Lai Wen of what he wanted and asked him the price. Lai Wen smiled faintly. You invited me here today just for this? Isn't there an expert here? Expert Professor Zhang looked up at Lai Wen and didn't speak. Professor Zhang can appraise the authenticity of things and the lowest value, but he doesn't understand the market and can't accurately estimate the price. Boss Lai is an expert in this aspect, Fatty Dai said. So I can only trouble Boss Lai. UNG blue glazed white dragon plum vase is the same as the Tang yellow glazed brown green cloud lotus pot. They are both national treasures. Lai Wen shook his head. Priceless. 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 500 million. It's worth whatever you say. Fatty Die's eyes lit up. Then, is it really worth so much? Fatty Die said excitedly. Lai Wen smiled slightly. But there is a premise. This UNG blue-glazed white dragon plum vase must be real. You haven't collected Shredded Onion Man? You are too out of date. Don't you know that it is this year's blockbuster super IP? Vomit, I'm vomiting. Chapter 3043. What do you mean? Professor Zhang slammed the table without waiting for Fatty Die to speak. He obviously couldn't accept Lai Wen's statement. He was the one who identified the authenticity of the UNG blue-glazed white dragon plum vase. What Lai Wen said now was insulting him. Fatty Die was stunned for a moment, but he quickly recovered his emotions. Ha ha ha, Boss Lai, although you didn't buy this thing, you don't have to curse me. I'm not cursing you. You really made a mistake. Lai Wen said, I'm telling you because you invited me to dinner today. Fatty Die certainly didn't believe Lai Wen's words. Ha ha ha, Boss Lai is really good at joking. You saw this plum vase first. Really? Lai Wen was stunned for a moment and nodded seriously. It seems that I saw it first. Then why did you say that I made a mistake? Isn't this nonsense with me? Fatty Die waved his fat hand. If you feel unbalanced psychologically, you should see a psychiatrist. You shouldn't find balance here. Lai Wen smiled and didn't say anything. Fatty Die frowned. You are an old bird. A master who has experienced hundreds of battles. I'm afraid no one will believe that you can make a mistake. So what if I'm an old bird? In fact, in the mixed antique market, everything is possible. Lai Wen said, it's common for an old bird to make a mistake. Fatty Die's mouth twitched. The more Lai Wen said that he couldn't make a mistake, the more pressure he felt. It doesn't matter. Boss Lai, sometimes you make a mistake, but I have Professor Zhang to identify it. Fatty Die laughed. I can also do a scientific identification. Professor Zhang immediately straightened his back, as if what he said was the truth. Since ancient times, the identification of antiques has been based on eyesight. It can't be separated from the way of seeing and touching. Scientific identification is meaningless. Lai Wen said, eyesight is an evaluation standard based on the knowledge of history, art, archaeology, and other aspects. This standard is not invented by an expert himself, but condenses the wisdom and experience of generations. Professor Zhang was unconvinced. Don't tell me that my visual learning isn't knowledge? Lai Wen didn't answer. He didn't want to pay attention to this arrogant expert. Let me tell you, I can see the shape and determine if it was drawn or made by someone in a certain era. I can see the quality and analyze the level of craftsmanship. For example, the thickness of the painting, the thickness of the porcelain, and the thickness of the raw materials used. I can see the style, the use of strokes and individual habits, the different ways in which the subject is painted, the choice of paint used, the grasp of the porcelain shape. I can see everything. I'm also using my eyes to learn how to appraise treasures. What are you unconvinced about? Hearing Professor Zhang's confidence, Fatty Die was even more relieved. Yeah, you're an expert. Of course you're good. Lai Wen smiled. But I know experts who are more authoritative than you, and they have also been hit on porcelain. Professor Zhang flew into a rage out of humiliation. You think too highly of yourself. I'm not the one who thinks I'm infallible, but you. Lai Wen said, I only looked at this plum vase and didn't feel its weight. You also didn't feel its weight with your hands. I said, I rely on my eyes to learn. Professor Zhang was so anxious that he almost jumped up. Lai Wen said lightly, study is indeed important. Let's talk about porcelain. Some of the Yuan dynasty's high-quality wares were not very standard. For example, some of the Yuan dynasty's blue and white porcelain jars often had crooked necks. Because the Yuan dynasty porcelain embryo mud formula was used in the Yuan dynasty. Some kaolin was added to the mud, but the content was less than 10%. Therefore, it was difficult to ensure that the porcelain embryo made of this mud was strong enough. It was inevitable that it would not deform when it was naturally dried. Even if it did not deform during the natural drying process, when it was fired in the kiln, when the kiln temperature exceeded a certain temperature, the utensils would still deform. This was the main reason why the Yuan dynasty porcelain blue and white jars had crooked necks. Professor Zhang waved his hand. "Don't talk about this nonsense." Lai Wen ignored him and continued, "When porcelain developed to the Ming dynasty's Hongwu period, the amount of kaolin added to the mud used to make porcelain exceeded a quarter. Therefore, in the Ming dynasty's porcelain handed down from ancient times, this kind of deformation phenomenon has been significantly improved. The larger size wares almost no longer have crooked necks." "What are you trying to say?" Fatty Dai was also restless. In the early Qing dynasty's porcelain mud formula was close to half of the kaolin content. Therefore, the porcelain of the Qing dynasty was more standard and comprehensive. Kaolin was added to the porcelain mud to increase the strength and baking temperature of large pieces of porcelain to reduce the deformation of the wares. The crooked necks were not very standard and comprehensive, but the porcelain shape was very standard and comprehensive. This is the development of porcelain craftsmanship. Lai Wen finally finished his words. Fatty Dai and Professor Zhang both widened their eyes. This UNG blue glaze white dragon plum vase has a standard and comprehensive shape. It is a rare porcelain of the Yuan dynasty. It can be made so beautiful with only 10% kaolin in the mud. It is very rare. Lai Wen said, "Now the imitations only contain 10% kaolin. It is definitely not this type. After all, this is the work of a master. So, if this UNG blue glaze white dragon plum vase is a fake, it means that almost half of the kaolin was added." Professor Zhang slowly opened his mouth. The beads of sweat on Fatty Dai's forehead also drilled out. The quality of the mud and the kaolin are obviously different. The quality I am talking about is the quality of the quantity of the substance contained in the object. Lai Wen said, "Therefore, when identifying this plum vase, it is very important to feel its weight with your hands." At this moment, Fatty Dai felt like he had fallen from heaven to hell. Lai Wen shook his head. "When I made the judgment, I didn't think much. I just looked at the appearance. I was too confident in my eyesight." "Do you have to prove that I made a mistake today?" Fatty Dai gnashed his teeth. "Lai Wen, I don't King believe that you didn't consider it carefully from the beginning. Antique collection is originally, making a mistake is a matter of a moment." Lai Wen said. Seeing Fatty Dai's unreconciled look, Lai Wen was really happy. "You know, Fatty Dai, I made a mistake because of you. Because I was afraid that you would King rob me, I didn't look at it carefully." Lai Wen also began to curse. "If you hadn't raised the price before, I wouldn't have been so anxious to give the price." Fatty Dai took a cold breath. He was more and more confused. "Professor Zhang, how sure are you?" Fatty Dai looked at the stupid expert. Professor Zhang was also confused at this time. He was too anxious to consider too much at that time. Now he was scared. After all, it was tens of millions of yuan. Before coming here, Fatty Dai had told Professor Zhang that Lai Wen was a treasure expert. Professor Zhang made the judgment on the basis of Lai Wen's appraisal, so he thought it was absolutely right. If he had appraised it alone, he wouldn't have given an answer so quickly. Lai Wen was right. This thing must be judged based on the quality. If there was a problem with the quality, the ratio of the mud to the kaolin was not about 9:1, then this thing must be fake. Boom. Professor Zhang really didn't dare to say anything after hearing this. Fatty Dai felt that his eyes were dark. If he made a mistake, it was 50 million yuan. 50 million yuan. What kind of concept was that? He could skin Professor Zhang alive. Chapter 3044. Fatty Dai, you don't have to be so nervous. If it's fake, then it's fake. It's normal to be blinded these days. You don't have to be so sad. Lai Wen laughed. Fatty Dai gritted his teeth. Looking at Lai Wen's proud face, he knew that he was fooled by Lai Wen. Lai, you actually set a trap for me. Fatty Dai's face trembled. He couldn't wait to rush up and tear Lai Wen apart. Look at what you're saying. How is it a trap? Lai Wen shook his head and denied it. He said to Su Yun, "Am I right? Am I the one who set a trap?" Su Yun didn't even look at Fatty Dai. Some people set a trap for themselves. They don't have a brain and yet they blame others. Fatty Dai, did you hear that? My people can see that you set a trap for yourself. Lai Wen said, you can save it. Don't flatter me. If you didn't pay such a high price, do you think I'm going to look at this damn bottle? Fatty Dai slammed the table with a bang. Yes. It's because of you. Your high price is the bait. Professor Zhang slammed the table too. Fatty Dai turned back and glared at Professor Zhang. He yelled, "You stupid thing. Shut up. Professor. Teach your uncle. You only know how to follow the trend and shout prices. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been cheated so much." Professor Zhang wanted to explain more, but Fatty Dai was so angry that he picked up the bowl of fruit bat soup and poured it on Professor Zhang's face. The scalding soup made the grandson roll on the ground and cry. Lai Wen, tell me, did you discuss with He Ji to set me up? Fatty Dai said, I'm going to ask him for an explanation now. There are rules in the antique industry. You were blinded and you still want to ask He Ji? Lai Wen said, He Ji's power is so big. What do you think you can do? Let me tell you. Even if you go, he will say that you took the real thing and made a fake to renege on the debt. You have nothing to say. It's your design. Lai Wen was disgusted with this kind of person. He was blind, but he still blamed others. To put it bluntly, this kind of person would blame the earth for not having any gravity when he couldn't poop. It could only be the earth's gravity that made him lose control of his poop. I'm willing to pay as much as I want. If you don't follow the price, I'll be the one who gets hit. Lai Wen said, I'll admit defeat if I get hit. I won't grumble like some people. Lai. It's easy for you to say that. Don't you feel bad for throwing away 50 million yuan? Fatty Dai yelled. 50 million yuan would make anyone's heart ache. Even the top few tycoons in Huaxia would definitely feel the pinch. More importantly, Fatty Dai's money was cheated by Lai Wen, so he couldn't accept it. They were all competitors. This was the most direct point. For example, Sister Milk Tea, the boss of a certain company, was fooled by Uncle Ma in an investment and lost 50 million renminbi. How could she not feel heartache? This was the same logic. It's a pity that I didn't throw the money. The money was thrown by you. Not only do I not feel bad, but I feel very happy. Lai Wen directly squeezed Fatty Dai. Fatty Dai was gnashing his teeth and wanted to flip the table. Fatty Dai, let me tell you. All these years, you have been raising the price for me. You should know how much more money I've spent. Lai Wen said, Today, I'm just teaching you a lesson. Don't provoke me in the future, understand? Lai Wen, you're right. You've got me today. Fatty Dai gnashed his teeth. I just want to ask you. If I didn't get cheated, would you rather throw away 30 million yuan? Lai Wen nodded without hesitation. Of course. 30 million yuan was a bet. If he won, he would give Fatty Dai a lesson. If he lost, he would feed the dog. Although Lai Wen was not a person who didn't care about 30 million yuan, he still felt that it was worth it to use this money to mess with Fatty Dai. Lai Wen, you win. Fatty Dai made up his mind. I won't die if I don't have this 50 million yuan. Don't be too proud. Of course, I know that you won't die if you don't have this 50 million yuan. Lai Wen smiled, but I just want to see your sad face. Seeing you like this makes me happier than seeing you lose tens of millions. Fatty Dai pointed at Lai Wen. Well, it's a small world. Let's wait and see. I'm waiting for you to say that. Lai Wen sneered. Fatty Dai, I really want to see where you can go. Fatty Dai gnashed his teeth. Well, you wait and see. The identification expert, Professor Zhang, was disgusted by the smell of the bat. Now, he was no longer as arrogant and complacent as before. Because of this, he had a lot of responsibility. He may not need to pay for the 50 million yuan, but he certainly couldn't make money from Fatty Dai. And if Fatty Dai was angry and really left him in the wilderness, he really didn't know how to go home. So Professor Zhang didn't dare to say anything. Seeing that Fatty Dai was ready to leave, he quietly followed behind him. As an authoritative identification expert, he didn't have to take money when he went out. There was always someone to serve him. But this time he miscalculated. Fatty Dai would definitely not give him a good face. It was safer for him to not breathe too loudly. Take care, I won't see you off. Lai Wen smiled slightly. By the way, Fatty Dai, remember to come to Huxiong on the 15th of next month. Bring a reliable expert. This Professor Zhang is really not good. Professor Zhang trembled all over. Oh my God, I am so careful, but you still call me by name. Fatty Dai turned around and glared at Professor Zhang. Professor Zhang lowered his head and didn't say anything. I'm telling you, don't let me see you again. Fatty Dai was completely disappointed with Professor Zhang. He was speechless and wanted to kick him to death. Professor Zhang didn't dare to breathe too loudly. He lowered his head and didn't say a word. Fatty Dai strode out of the game store, and Professor Zhang hurriedly followed him. Fatty Dai's driver opened the door and waited for Fatty Dai to enter. Professor Zhang also came to the door and wanted to follow in. Not to mention the disgusting smell on his body, even if there wasn't the disgusting smell of bats, Fatty Dai wouldn't bring this old bastard who made him lose tens of millions of yuan. Although this trap was set by Lai Wen, if Professor Zhang was really capable and cautious, he could easily break this trap. At that time, not only would he not lose 50 million yuan, but he could also watch Lai Wen lose 30 million yuan. This added up to 80 million yuan. Damn this guy! Just as Professor Zhang was about to get into the car, Fatty Dai's foot fiercely stomped on his face. This kick was ruthless. Fatty Dai's leg was dozens of kilograms. Professor Zhang couldn't stand the inertia. After all, he was a man in his 50s or 60s. He couldn't resist this kick at all. You still want to go with me? Fatty Dai spat out a mouthful of saliva. Believe it or not, I will drag you to the mountains and feed you to the wolves. Professor Zhang was so scared that his whole body trembled. He didn't dare to move anymore. He watched Fatty Dai's men drive away, leaving him penniless in the wilderness. Professor Zhang looked around. He wanted to die. Just an hour ago, Fatty Dai was respectful to him. Now, this person changed his attitude too quickly. Professor Zhang lamented that people's hearts were not what they used to be. He was angry at his own mistake. He really didn't expect that there was such a trap in the antique business. God, what do you want me to do? Professor Zhang wanted to cry. Chapter 3045. At this time, Su Yun and Lai Wen also walked out of the game store. Seeing Professor Zhang's pitiful look, Lai Wen couldn't help but snort. As a person like Lai Wen, he looked down on these experts and professors the most. In this day and age, experts and professors had become idiots. When people's hearts were bad, there would be no truth in their mouths. Lai Wen had always hated this kind of people because some people lost their professional ethics when their status was high. As long as there were benefits, they would dare to say that the real thing was fake, and the fake thing was real. In the antique collecting world, many rules were broken by these experts and professors. Therefore, Lai Wen looked down on these experts and professors. Every time he saw these bastards who couldn't even tell the difference between real and fake things, he felt disgusted. As the saying goes, a pitiful person must have something hateful. It was referring to Professor Zhang's current pitiful appearance. It was really ridiculous. Professor Zhang, it must not feel good to be abandoned in the middle of nowhere. Su Yun smiled slightly. You have such an identity. You were supposed to work for the country, but you ended up like this because of your private work. You don't feel good, right? Professor Zhang didn't care about his face anymore. Boss Lai, please help me. I'm not familiar with this place. Why should I help you? Lai Wen said, you seem to be my opponent. I'm not that kind. Boss Lai, if you have anything you need to appraise, I'll help you appraise it. Help me once and take me out of here. Professor Zhang said shamelessly, I didn't bring a single cent with me when I came out with Fatty Dai. He left me here. If you don't help me, I won't be able to leave. Lai Wen frowned and looked at Su Yun. He thought that this old thing was really shameless. Boss Lai, arrange for someone to send me home. This is my only condition, Professor Zhang said. Lai Wen shook his head. You'll help me appraise it? You can't even do a plum vase. What can you help me appraise? I'll help you appraise your Yuan glaze red goblet. Professor Zhang said, that thing might have a problem. I think you're the one with a problem. Lai Wen had never seen such a ridiculous person. Professor Zhang almost knelt down. I beg you, Boss Lai. As long as you help me, I'll do anything. It's a pity that I don't need you to do anything at all. After Lai Wen finished speaking, he got into the car without looking back. Su Yun ignored Professor Zhang. Seeing that the people here had also left, Professor Zhang sat down on the ground and thought to himself that he could only beg the owner of this game store now. On the way home, Lai Wen had been playing with the Yuan glaze inner red goblet in his hand. This thing was not bad. Boss Lai, what rank is this Yuan glaze inner red spinning cup in your collection? Su Yun brought up this topic again. After coming to Xionghu, Lai Wen had not let him see his collection room. Lai Wen smiled. What do you think? With Boss Lai's knowledge of antiques, I'm afraid this isn't one of the best in your collection, Su Yun said. Lai Wen shook his head modestly. This Yuan glaze inner red goblet is of the highest quality. It's definitely a good thing in my collection. Boss Lai, I know what you mean. Lai Wen didn't let Su Yun continue. I promised to let you see my collection, hee. I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable about collecting. I haven't studied it, I'm just curious, Su Yun said. Lai Wen nodded. Anyone would be curious. Su Yun couldn't guess Lai Wen's thoughts now, so he didn't say anything more to avoid Lai Wen's suspicion. I will take you to see my collection, but the premise is that we can go back safely. Lai Wen smiled. Su Yun was stunned. Boss Lai, what do you mean? I only brought the driver and you here today. We will definitely be targeted during the transaction. Lai Wen said, So Boss Lai only brought me here on purpose, Su Yun said. Lai Wen nodded and didn't deny it. I know that someone has wanted to do something to me for a long time, but every time I come here, I bring a lot of people. They don't have the chance and don't dare to do it. Then Boss Lai can bring more people to avoid this kind of trouble, Su Yun said. Lai Wen waved his hand. Do you know, there is a saying that you are not afraid of thieves stealing, but you are afraid of thieves thinking about you. Every time I come here to look for treasures, there will be thieves thinking about it, so I'm not happy. Su Yun understood. Boss Lai only brought me here because he wanted to lure them out and make a move, then give them a lesson so that they won't dare to think about me again, Lai Wen said. Su Yun nodded. This is what Boss Lai meant by rough work. That's right. Lai Wen said, although it's a bit overkill to use you for this matter, I still want to give the people who are thinking about me a blow that will make them completely afraid. Only you can do this. Su Yun shook his head. You can't kill people casually in Huaxia. I don't want you to kill people, Lai Wen said. The other party is a master, but there is a big gap between them and you. I just want you to intimidate them with an overwhelming advantage. I understand. Su Yun said, but since the other party is a master, Boss Lai, aren't you worried that I will fail? Even the people around Zhongjiu Yu are not your opponents. What else do I have to worry about? Lai Wen laughed. I'm not worried at all. As long as you make a move, I'm sure they won't have a chance. Just as the two were talking, several black cars appeared one after another on the road. The cars approached Lai Wen's car from the front, back, left, and right. Boss. The driver was a little nervous. Lai Wen smiled slightly. It seems that they are already here. Humph. Old Nyo always thought that he could cover the sky with one hand in Xionghu. Today, I will tell him that if he thinks about the things in my hands again, I will make him suffer. Boss, what should we do now? The driver hurriedly said. Lai Wen looked at Su Yun and waited for his decision. Su Yun shrugged helplessly. Pull over and park the car. Pull over? Then, won't they surround us? The driver was frightened. He didn't want to be beaten up. Su Yun said, if you don't want to be hit by them and crash the car, then do as I say. Listen to Su Yun. Do whatever he tells you to do. Lai Wen said to the driver faintly. The driver nodded and slowed down obediently. The car began to slow down slowly. The surrounding cars also noticed and tightened the encirclement. After a minute, the driver turned on the double flashing lights and slowly stopped the car. Boss, are we really stopping like this? After the driver stopped the car, he was still in shock. Su Yun smiled. You don't have to get out of the car. Wait for me for a while. After that, Su Yun directly got out of the car. Obviously, Lai Wen was prepared for everything today. It was to test Su Yun's loyalty to him. He wanted to see how Su Yun would deal with trouble in Huaxia. Because of this, Lai Wen gave Old Nyo's people the opportunity to block him. A year ago, Old Nyo was hit by him. He had been hating and looking for an opportunity to take revenge. If it wasn't to test Su Yun, Lai Wen wouldn't have given Old Nyo a chance to take revenge. He had to admit that he was hit by a hit. You be careful. Lai Wen only said this to Su Yun. Then, he closed his eyes in relief and waited for Su Yun's good news. He didn't have to worry or doubt Su Yun's skills. He just wanted to see if Su Yun would be willing to help him do this kind of thing. As long as Su Yun could make a move at this time, then Lai Wen wouldn't dare to go to any dangerous place in the future. This was just the beginning. Rough work. This wasn't considered at all. At most, it was just a small test. Chapter 3046. Su Yun got out of the car, and several people also got out of the black cars that surrounded them. These people were all very strong. Their breathing was also very smooth and natural. Obviously, they all had internal energy cultivation. Su Yun used his aura to do a preliminary check. They were at least second-rate masters, and 2 of them were even first-rate masters. If it was in the past, Su Yun would really have to plan well when facing such a group of people. But now, with Su Yun's strength, facing these people who hadn't even touched the bottleneck of a supermaster, he didn't put them in his eyes. However, in a local city, a person who could sit with so many masters was obviously not a simple person. Su Yun smiled slightly. Big brothers, what are you doing? It's very dangerous to drive so close. Don't talk nonsense. Ask your boss to come out and take that spinning cup. As long as you cooperate, you won't have to suffer any physical pain. The man in the lead threatened with a hoarse voice. Because Su Yun's strength was far beyond them, they couldn't feel Su Yun's aura at all. Naturally, they classified Su Yun as an ordinary person. In fact, they didn't use their brains. When Lai Wen came out in the past, he would definitely bring a few second-rate and third-rate masters with him. There would also be first-rate masters by his side. Now that he only brought him out, how could he be an ordinary person? It was simply a joke. It was really not easy to get to this level of strength with this kind of IQ. Big brothers, can we talk things out? Don't start a fight as soon as you open your mouth. That's something that only a rough person would do. Su Yun, looking at the way you dress, you are all people with status. It's too embarrassing for people with status to do such a thing. Stop talking nonsense. Next to the man in the lead, a slightly younger short man shouted, We're not here to waste time with you. Do it. The man in the lead directly ordered. Wait a minute. Su Yun hurriedly stopped him. The dozen people on the other side all stopped, wanting to see what this coward could do. Lai Wen looked out of the window with a smile. He knew that Su Yun must have a way, so he wasn't worried at all. The driver was a little scared. When he saw Su Yun being so humble, he felt that he was not reliable. Su Yun pointed at their cars and said, "Your cars are all parked here. It's too much of a hindrance. I'm afraid I can't use this little space. You want to fight back?" The man in the lead sneered disdainfully. He was a first-class master. Su Yun nodded. "What else can we do if we don't resist? Squat here and let you beat me to death? I say, there's really something wrong with your IQ. Even a fool wouldn't do that. You dare to mock me? Today, I will let you know that to me, you are just a fool." The leader ordered again, "Do it, don't give him any nonsense. Don't be so anxious. I can't F***king run away. Can't you give me some space to attack? Your cars are too much of a hindrance," Su Yun said. The people surrounding Su Yun laughed wildly. They were full of disdain and contempt for this guy who was looking for an excuse. Su Yun walked to the side of the leader's black Jeep Grand Cherokee and said to himself, "This is the most hindrance. Do you want me to drive you to the side?" The man who was the leader of the other party sneered. Su Yun waved his hand. "That's not necessary. It's too much trouble for you. Then why are you talking so much nonsense with me?" The leader was already impatient. He didn't want to let Su Yun delay any longer. He raised his hand again and was ready to signal his men to attack. At this time, Su Yun suddenly kicked the front of the Grand Cherokee. This kick seemed ordinary. It didn't move the car at all. Just when those people wanted to mock Su Yun mercilessly, Su Yun activated his internal force. The 2-ton city SUV was directly sent flying. The car flipped several times and was kicked to the opposite side of the road by Su Yun. This was the suburbs and there were no other cars on the road. Su Yun wasn't worried about affecting the traffic. Without waiting for these shocked people to recover, he kicked again. This time, he kicked the black Audi A6 in front of their car. Su Yun's foot hooked onto the car's butt. The entire back of the car was lifted up. The car folded and crushed the front of the car. In this situation, the car flipped several meters. The car's glass was broken all over the ground. This time, the dozen people were stunned. Su Yun had just casually attacked. He didn't have any intention of using his real strength. At this time, Su Yun Kai moved his wrists and looked at the dozen people with a smile. "Brothers, I'm done warming up. If you want to fight, don't waste time. Hurry up, I still have something to do." Lai Wan in the car was already smiling. The driver had really learned something. He sighed. "This is F***king pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Look at your cowardly appearance. If you and I went out and encountered a situation, wouldn't you just hand him over and run away?" Lai Wan said to the driver unhappily. The driver immediately expressed his sincerity. "Impossible. If it was me, even if I die, I will drive the boss out." As the two of them spoke, the outside had already started. The dozen people didn't dare to underestimate Su Yun anymore. They all rushed forward. Su Yun's dragon steps were exquisite as he circled around them. His hands did not stop moving either. Every time he attacked, he would hit a vital point. In less than a minute, more than 10 people were sent flying in all directions. There was simply no one who could withstand a single move from Su Yun. "Boss, now I know why you put Su Yun in such an important position," the driver said. Lai Wan snorted. "That's right. This is the talent of a Qilin. If you can get him, you can get the world." "Boss, the talent of a Qilin isn't the accounting schemer Mr. Su." The driver was stunned. "You've watched too many dramas." Lai Wan glared at the driver. "This is F***king reality. I know how to scheme. I only need someone who can clear all the trouble for me. And Su Yun is such a person." "Yes, yes, yes," the driver quickly said. In less than a minute, Su Yun defeated all the opponents. Only the leader was left. At this time, the guy couldn't smile. His face was completely stiff. Just before, he didn't want to fight with Su Yun. Now, He didn't dare to fight with Su Yun. The difference was like heaven and earth. He didn't even dare to guess what level of expert Su Yun was. It was completely beyond his imagination. I already said that we are people of status. Don't use violence. You just didn't believe me. Su Yun walked in front of the guy. Now, have you thought about how to solve the problem? The leader shook his head and didn't dare to say anything. Get lost. Go back and tell your master that if you don't have the ability, don't cause trouble. Su Yun. Otherwise, I will go to his house directly next time. Understand? Understood. Understood. The leader only knew how to nod. Su Yun waved his hand. He didn't want to talk nonsense with him anymore and returned to the car. Lai Wen didn't ask why he didn't fight with the guy. He just smiled. You've worked hard. Boss Lai, I let this guy pass a message to his master. Su Yun, if there is a next time, you don't need to say anything. I will take care of them. Ha, you do things beautifully. Lai Wen nodded. He admired Su Yun more and more. You know, you are the most outstanding person I have ever seen. Brother, don't call me boss anymore. I am your brother Lai. You are my brother. Boss Lai, I don't dare. Su Yun smiled slightly. The driver had already started the car and was on the way home again. Chapter 3047. On the way back, Lai Wen was in a good mood. He actually took out his phone and dialed Old Cow's number. Lai Wen wasn't afraid of this Xionghu local who hated him, but he wouldn't underestimate him either. After all, the skin on the back of Old Cow's head was as thick as 3 scales. This kind of person was the most difficult to deal with. If Lai Wen didn't want to test Su Yun's loyalty this time, perhaps he wouldn't have fallen out with Old Cow. However, since they had already fallen out, there was nothing to worry about. No matter how shameless Old Cow was, it didn't matter since it had already become like this. When the local Old Cow received the call, he was obviously surprised. Brother Cow, long time no see. When Lai Wen spoke, Old Cow knew who he was. Old Cow knew what he ordered his subordinates to do, so Lai Wen's call surprised him. Brother Lai, you actually have my number? What is Brother Cow's status in Xionghu? How can I not have Brother Cow's number? Lai Wen smiled. If there is something that I can't solve, I still want to ask Brother Cow to help me solve the problem. The more Old Cow listened, the more unreliable he felt. Brother Lai, what is your status in Xionghu? Who dares to provoke you? What else do you need me to help you solve? What if the people who provoke me only listen to you? Lai Wen laughed. Old Cow was stunned. It seemed that his people had succeeded. Just now, he was worried that those people would be fooled by Lai Wen. After all, Lai Wen was very scheming and had many tricks up his sleeve. But now, it seemed that his worries were unnecessary. Lai Wen would call him at this time. Obviously, his subordinates had succeeded. Now, Lai Wen was waiting for him to help him solve the problem. Brother Lai, you are slandering me. Old Cow was a rough person. He didn't pay attention to his words at all. But I don't care. I don't mind it. Just say what you want. Then, I will say it directly. Lai Wen smiled. Something happened on my side. A few people are looking for trouble with me. These people aren't Brother Cow's people, right? Old Cow revealed a cold smile. Of course it's not my people. Brother Lai, you've wrongly accused me. Oh. It's not Brother Nyo's people. Lai Wen said, I thought if it was Brother Nyo's people, I would inform you. Brother Lai, I'm sorry about this. He isn't my man, so I can't help you. Old Bull said, good luck. Brother Bull, I don't mean that. Lai Wen said, you don't think that I'm looking for you to help me settle things, right? The old bull was startled. Then what do you mean? I'm just making sure. Since it's not Brother Nyo's men, I'm relieved. Lai Wen said, those people were taught a lesson by my brother just now. I was afraid that they were Brother Nyo's people, so I wanted to call and apologize. Old Bull's expression changed immediately, but he could only grit his teeth and swallow his anger. Lai Wen knew. Old Cow had nothing to say. I'm relieved that it's not Brother Nyo's people. Lai Wen said, when I have time later, I'll treat you to a drink. Lai Wen hung up the phone after he finished speaking, and his heart was refreshed. Old Cow almost smashed his phone to the ground. So many people actually failed to succeed. They were simply a group of good-for-nothings. After the people that Old Bull arranged to go out returned, they quickly reported the situation to him. When he learned that Lai Wen had an incredible master by his side, Old Bull's heart was even more depressed. If so, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in Xionghu in the future. Could it be that he, Lai Wen, had to dominate? No way. He, Old Bull, wasn't a person who accepted his fate. After Su Yun and Lai Wen returned to his luxurious villa, they waited for Lai Wen to take him to the collection room. But Lai Wen didn't mention this at all. He seemed to have completely forgotten about this matter. When Su Yun saw that he didn't mention it, he naturally didn't ask more. He already felt that Lai Wen was deliberately avoiding it now. It seemed that because Su Yun was a little anxious and was overly curious about Lai Wen's collection room, Lai Wen was a little more cautious. Lai Wen was a person who was naturally suspicious. So, the more he wanted to suppress Su Yun's temper, the more he wanted to see if Su Yun had any other crooked thoughts. Su Yun couldn't do anything about it. But until now, Su Yun still couldn't make things clear. After all, he still hadn't seen where Xia Qiuyu was. Lai Wen said that he was tired and wanted to rest. Su Yun also didn't have any meaning to stay here. At night, Lai Wen said that he had a social engagement, but he didn't intend to bring Su Yun along. Su Yun also couldn't guess what Lai Wen was thinking. After Lai Wen left, Su Yun also left Lai Wen's villa. It was too boring to stay here. Xionghu, one of the first batch of historical and cultural cities in the country, was still very interesting. This was the birthplace of the Chu civilization and Xiong culture. It had a long history of more than 3,000 years. The city began to be built during the Spring and Autumn Warring States period. It belonged to the Chu and was a famous city of Chu and Han. The unearthing of important cultural relics such as the Mawangdui Han tomb and Zhoma Lu reflected the deep Chu culture and Xiong culture of this city. Yuelu Academy, located at the foot of Yuelu Mountain, was the symbol of Xionghu culture and education. Many famous people emerged in history, leaving behind many historical and cultural relics. Since Su Yun was bored, it wasn't a bad choice to go out for a walk and feel the charm of this 1,000-year-old ancient capital. At Lai Wen's place, Lai Wen's subordinates were very polite to him. When Su Yun said that he wanted to go out, someone immediately arranged a car. However, Su Yun didn't have the habit of taking the driver out. He directly asked the driver to get off and drove away from Lai Wen's villa. Walking on the road of Xionghu, the traffic was surging. Su Yun looked at the surrounding high-rise buildings and didn't know where he could go. After all, he wasn't familiar with this place. However, after the car drove into the city for a few minutes, he realized that he was being watched by a tail. Oh my God, it's really interesting to come to Xionghu. How many enemies does this grandson Lai Wen have? Even driving his car can be watched? Su Yun silently slowed down the car. Soon, he realized that there was more than one car watching him. In order not to cause trouble, Su Yun deliberately lowered the window to let the people watching him realize that he was the only one in the car. Lai Wen wasn't there at all, so they didn't follow him. However, the car that was watching him completely ignored everything Su Yun did and still followed Su Yun. No matter how many turns Su Yun made, they followed him unhurriedly. There were many cars on the road, so Su Yun couldn't drive fast. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have come to the city to play. He wasn't familiar with the city and couldn't find any fun places. It was entirely because he heard that the Xiong girls were very hot that he ran in to see the beauties. Who knew that not only did he not see the beauties, but he was also being watched. Well, Su Yun was too lazy to go around in circles. He simply found a place where there was no one and stopped the car, waiting for the tail to find him. As long as they dared to come to find him, Su Yun dared to reason with them. However, after Su Yun stopped the cars also stopped. Seeing this, Su Yun was puzzled. Wasn't this 2F** king obvious? They don't put me in their eyes at all. Well, let's see who can last longer. Anyway, Su Yun originally came out to take a stroll. Now that he was tired, he simply lay in the car and started to sleep. He wanted to see how long these guys could last. Sooner or later, someone would not be able to hold on. Su Yun sneered. Anyway, he didn't care. Even if the car was smashed, it was Lai Wan who had to pay for his wallet. It had nothing to do with him. Sleep. This heart is really big. Chapter 3048. 10 minutes later, a silver Land Rover Range Rover drove directly to the side of Su Yun's car. Although the sound of the engine had already disturbed Su Yun still had no intention of opening his eyes. His car window was rolled down, so the people outside could see him clearly. A middle-aged man walked down from the silver Land Rover. He was 1.7 meters tall, sturdy, bald, and had a very sinister aura. The back of his head had 2 deep grooves, and 3 pieces of scalp flesh were bulging. It was recorded in the physiognomy book that this was called Chuan bone. It was in the middle part of the back of the brain, reaching the peak of Bai Hui and Chifeng Mansion. The middle bone was longer, and the bones on both sides were shorter. This kind of Chuan bone was mainly rich and long-lived. The horizontal bone was noble. The physiognomy book said, Chuan character bone, abundant previous occupation. The ancestor was an official who established his career in the style of travel. This is because he enjoyed the shade, and also had the support of the Cheng Tao family and the Tian family. Furthermore, he was able to expand his business. Taking advantage of the time to expand his business, he opened up a source of profit, circulated goods, and became rich in the middle class. This kind of person often interacted with nobles. He was a jinx to his early son. He established a female palace and had many wives and concubines. Zichi was born from a concubine. He was lascivious and had many court cases. He also had relatives and friends. Chuan Bone was naturally smart and witty. He had a lot of budget and was good at making friends. He softened into a group and was also good at speech. He was well versed in all walks of life. He was perverted and changeable. Sometimes he could tolerate evil to change his mind. Sometimes he could not bear to be humiliated and spread right and wrong. He was greedy and stable. He was competitive and scheming. Therefore, this guy was not to be trifled with. The man with Chuan Bone was Old Nyo, who talked to Lai Wan on the phone today. After Old Nyo talked to Lai Wan on the phone, he immediately asked the people he arranged. After knowing that the dozen people he arranged were defeated by a young man beside Lai Wan, Old Nyo's eyes almost popped out. He immediately arranged people near the Lai family and waited for Lai Wan to come back to check who was in Lai Wen's car. Therefore, Old Nyo stared at Su Yun at the first moment. When Su Yun came out, Old Nyo's people immediately reported to each other. After Su Yun entered the city, he was completely followed. Old Ox's men only dared to follow and did not dare to do anything else. Finally, after Su Yun stopped the car, they hurriedly contacted their boss, Brother Nyo. Old Cow rushed to the scene immediately. He really wanted to meet this young man who had shocked him personally. The people beside Old Cow went forward and slammed on Su Yun's car door. Su Yun then slowly opened his eyes. "Aya, what are you doing? The night is dark and the wind is strong. Is there any law? So many people want to rob. Get off the car. Our boss has something to say to you." That person was still arrogant. Little did he know that Old Cow had come today to treat Su Yun politely. He was prepared to play with Su Yun and treat him with respect. Slap. Old Cow slapped the back of his subordinate's head fiercely. "Get lost." Su Yun did not know Old Nyo and did not get down from the car. He looked up at Old Nyo and said, "Are you their big brother?" "That. Big brother, I know that you followed me because of this car. But the owner of this car is not here." Old Cow did not speak. He looked at Su Yun and wanted to hear what Su Yun wanted to say. How should I say it? If the owner of this car has grievances with you, that's his business. It has nothing to do with me. I just borrowed the car to drive. Don't misunderstand. Su Yun smiled and said. Old Cow frowned. What do you mean by this? Is this not clear enough? I'm just saying that if you have grievances, find the right person. Don't implicate the innocent. Su Yun said. You are not Lai Wen's man? Old Cow stared. It's that kind of, how should I say, very unfamiliar friendship. Su Yun said, do you understand now? If you want to find trouble, find Lai Wen. Don't find me. Old Cow turned around and looked at the person beside him who was in charge of investigating this matter. That person sized up Su Yun. That's right, it's him. Brother Cow, I saw him. He sat in Lai Wen's car and went back to Lai Wen's villa. He must be the one who beat up our people. Su Yun stared blankly for a moment before realization dawned on him. Your brother Nyo? Old Cow was confident in his brothers and knew that they definitely did not misjudge him. That's right, I am. Old Cow stood outside the car. Su Yun sat in the car and did not have any intention of getting out. Su Yun laughed dryly. Brother Cow, it looks like you are here to find trouble with me. Ha ha ha. But I still want to tell you that it was Lai Wen's idea to beat up your subordinates, not mine. I don't want to provoke you. Old Cow did not understand. If the fellow standing in front of him was so powerful, why did he have to be so humble? How about this, Brother Cow, I will light a cigarette for you and apologize. Don't find me for this matter. Go find Lai Wen. He was the one who instigated it. Su Yun had already opened the door and got out of the car. He did not bring a cigarette, but there was a diamond hibiscus king in the car. He directly took it out. Seeing Su Yun being so low-key, Old Cow's men did not understand. This was because they had heard from the person who was beaten that the young man beside Lai Wen was a very arrogant fellow. His strength was also very terrifying. A 2-ton car was no different from a 3-year-old's remote control car in his eyes. He could kick it away with one kick. But the person in front of them now looked like a coward no matter how they looked at it. Get lost. Will Brother Cow smoke this kind of thing? Old Cow's subordinate slapped the cigarette in Su Yun's hand away. Seeing the cigarette in the cigarette box scattered on the ground, Su Yun did not have any reaction. At this time, Old Cow's subordinate immediately prepared the cigar and handed it to Old Cow. Then, he helped Old Cow light it. Looks like Brother Cow is a particular person, Su Yun said. Smoking cigars is good. Cigars don't have so many harmful effects. This is called having taste. Old Cow took a puff of the cigar and looked at Su Yun with an even more suspicious expression. He could not understand what this fellow was selling. Brother Cow, don't you plan to treat me to one? Su Yun smiled slightly. Old Cow did not speak. His subordinate stole the show again. He went forward and scolded. What the hell do you think you are? Ouch. Before he finished speaking, Su Yun suddenly lifted his knee and made a move. In an instant, this fellow's words were choked back into his throat. This fellow hugged his lower abdomen and knelt on the ground. He was in so much pain that beads of sweat covered his head. He could not say a single word. At least 3 of his ribs were broken. When I am speaking, I especially dislike people interrupting. Su Yun was still calm. Brother Cow, you are someone with status. You have to discipline your subordinates even more. Otherwise, others will feel that your status is degrading. Although Old Cow was expressionless, he laughed out loud in his heart. This fellow was indeed somewhat interesting. If Su Yun was really a coward, Old Cow would really feel that he had come for nothing. And now, Su Yun's actions told him that he had made the right decision to come this time. I still don't know what your name is. Old Cow raised his hand and gestured for his subordinates not to act rashly. He calmly asked Su Yun. Su Yun grinned. Su Yun. Brother Cow, just call me Xiao Su. Old Cow nodded. Brother, You are young and promising. You are able to be placed in an important position by Lai Wan at such a young age. Your future is immeasurable. Look at what Brother Cao is saying. What future can I have? I am just trying to make a living and pass the time. It is not even worth mentioning. Su Yun waved his hand. I don't know if Boss Lai will think highly of me. Ha ha ha, Brother Cao is laughing at me. Old Cao squinted his eyes. Brother, as long as a person has strength, they will be able to make a living no matter where they go. If Boss Lai has eyes but can't see, then I, Old Cao, have the discerning eyes to recognize heroes. Su Yun was startled. He did not expect Old Cao to say such words. He thought that Old Cao would directly order his subordinates to make a move without saying anything. Su Yun was already prepared to capture the ringleader. If he made a move, he would directly control Old Cao. He did not expect Old Cao to say such words. This truly surprised Su Yun. Chapter 3049. I'm touched by Brother Bull's words. Su Yun did not know whether to laugh or cry. From what Brother Bull said, you think that I'm not bad? Old Bull was a smart person. In Xionghu, other than Lai Wan, who was more famous than him and who he did not dare to provoke, there were not many people that he did not dare to teach a lesson to. Therefore, if he did not have such thoughts, he would not have been so polite to Su Yun. Su Yun was powerful, but could he be more powerful than the guns that the people around him brought? Therefore, Old Bull was not afraid of Su Yun. Lai Wan was a businessman. He was a collector. He was a money-maker. He was a money-maker. Old Bull did not have so many tricks. Old Bull was a gangster and relied on gangsters. He relied on gangsters to earn money and feed his family. There were not many people who were afraid of death who were involved in gangsters. Su Yun had seen many of these kinds of people. Their lives were worthless. Once they had a chance to rise to the top, they would not want to come down. Therefore, even if they had to resort to unscrupulous means, they would not be a person who lived a worthless life. Even if they died, they would die in glory. Only people with this kind of mentality would be able to gain some status in this gangster world. Of course, more than 90% of people with this kind of mentality would die an unnatural death. After all, this was not a safe path. There were too many unpredictable dangers. Old Bull was able to survive until today because of luck. Maybe one day, his luck would run out, and he would not be far away from death. Hua Xia had been established for so many years, and there were no gangsters who had a good ending. Of course, those in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan did not count. After all, it was one country, two systems. Some people there had a good life. As for the gangsters in the mainland, the result was basically a dead end. Back then, Shaanxi's famous Kahu, the local hooligans, the dregs of society, and the corrupt people in the political world all joined his banner. In order to achieve the goal of strengthening his power and dominating a region, Kahu bought and stored guns and ammunition without restraint. He often created terrifying incidents of gangsters fighting each other. He was much more ruthless than Old Bull. As for Chao Si from the northeast, Liang San from the east, Chao Er from the northwest, and De Yong from the south, they were all big shots that Old Ox couldn't touch. In the end, these people were unable to escape the punishment of the law. Hence, Old Nyo was unable to escape in the end. He hadn't been dealt with yet because he wasn't strong enough. I've always appreciated talents. Old Cow smiled. I know that Lai Wan must have said these words to you, but I can't guarantee that he is sincere. Su Yun smiled and thought to himself, you aren't King sincere. Everyone is just using each other. Really? I'm flattered. Su Yun said, Brother Nyo, I was a little short-tempered just now and gave your people a knee. You don't mind, do you? Of course not. Old Bull said. But he's still here. It looks like he wants to blackmail me. Su Yun scratched his head. Can I? Get up and scram. Old Cow ordered. This fellow was really in pain and wasn't pretending. However, since boss had spoken, he didn't dare to not do it. He was in so much pain that he couldn't straighten his back. He had to crawl away. Su Yun grinned. I'm sorry, Brother Nyo. I was a little too heavy-handed. If I really hurt him, I'm really sorry. You should let him go to the hospital. You don't have to worry about that. Old Cow said calmly, Today, I heard that you crippled more than 10 of my people. Do you plan to give me an explanation for this? I really can't explain this. Su Yun said, Brother Nyo knows that this is Boss Lai's order. Furthermore, your people wanted to snatch something. It's only right for me to make a move. Then, if I still want to snatch Lai Wen's things, will you make a move? Old Cow asked. If I can't see, I definitely won't care. Su Yun said seriously, I'm not as close to Boss Lai as you think. I'm really not his confidant. It's just that he's helped me a little before, so I'm just returning the favor. Old Cow acknowledged. Although he didn't really believe Su Yun's words, he didn't find any flaws in it. Then, what if I want you to do things for me? Old Cow said, Will you refuse? Su Yun waved his hand. I already have things to do. Brother Nyo, if I promise you, do you think I'm reliable? So, you're determined to help Lai Wen? Old Cow frowned. This was a pity. Not only was it a pity, but it was also a little scary. Old Cow was very clear when facing people like Su Yun. If he couldn't let him be his subordinate, then he definitely couldn't let him be his opponent. Once such a person became his opponent, he really wouldn't be able to make a comeback. Brother, since you said so, then I won't waste my breath with you. Old Cow said, but I still want to tell you that I admire you very much. Brother Nyo, what deep hatred do you have with Boss Lai? Su Yun asked. Old Cow spat. Lai Wan is an antique collector. I saw that he was very capable, so I asked him to give me 2 toys. But I never expected that one of the 2 things he gave me was a fake. He cheated tens of millions. Su Yun saw Fatty Dai's matter, so it wasn't difficult for him to understand Old Cow's current mood. What is it? Tens of millions? Su Yun probed. Old Cow was a noob in the antique world. He didn't know anything at all. It was normal for him to be fooled. Fuchin Sea Living Painting. PFFF. Su Yun almost spat out. He heard of Fuchin Mountain Living Painting, but it was the first time he heard of Fuchin Sea Living Painting. Lai Wen really played Old Cow like a fool. Boss Lai is indeed a little too much. Su Yun said. So, the matter between me and him must be resolved. Old Cow said, I will make him pay back what he owes me sooner or later. Su Yun certainly couldn't stop him from taking revenge. Brother Nyo, the antique industry is too deep. If you don't know anything, then don't enter the industry. If you don't enter the industry, then you won't be noticed. There was a reason why Lai Wen wanted to cheat Fatty Dai today. There must be a reason why he cheated Old Cow. Su Yun was curious. Boss Lai did this intentionally. Then, he must have a reason, right? What bullshit reason? Isn't it just one of his mistresses who ran away with me? It's not like I won't King return it to him. I didn't keep it even after playing with it. He doesn't want it even if I return it to him. So, he hates me. Old Cow spat. Damn, sooner or later, I will smash his collection room. Su Yun laughed dryly. They were already so old, yet they were still fighting for affection. It was really interesting. It's not worth it for a woman. Su Yun smiled. Old Cow wasn't convinced. It's not worth it, but it's a matter of face. I heard that he has been hiding a mistress in his house recently. There's a canary locked up in his villa. I will definitely snatch her out. Who asked him to trick me for a woman? I want to play with his woman. Su Yun's expression suddenly changed. What canary? You went to his house and you still don't know about this? Old Cow was stunned. Su Yun wasn't in the mood to joke. I seem to have told you just now that I'm not familiar with him. It's just an ordinary friendship. He doesn't have to tell me everything. It seems that he really doesn't treat you as one of his people. Old Cow said, "Listen to me. It's like this. About 1 or 2 months ago, a woman went to the Lai family to steal something. Then, she was caught and locked up by Lai Wen. Lai Wen hasn't released her until now. I believe that this woman must be a top quality. I have already arranged for people to find out where the woman is locked up. Brother Cow, can we talk in private?" Old Cow wasn't used to Su Yun's sudden seriousness. Old Cow nodded. "Where are we going?" "In your car," Su Yun said in a low voice. "Okay." Old Cow immediately signaled his subordinates to open the car door. The two of them got in the car and closed the door. There were only the two of them in the car. Chapter 3050. Old Cow did not throw away the cigar when he got on the car. The car door was closed, and the entire car was filled with smoke. "Brother, you are making me nervous," Old Cow said calmly. "So let's be frank. I am different from Lai Wen. I don't know how to guess people's thoughts. Do you understand?" Su Yun nodded his head and said directly, "I can tell, so I won't beat around the bush with you. You just need to listen to my arrangements." Old Cow was startled, and his face was a little unhappy. Although Su Yun was an expert, a strong dragon could not suppress a snake in its old haunts. Old Cow was confident that he was the biggest snake in Xionghu, and no one could be compared to him. This confidence was a halo that could only be formed after many years. It was a pity that he was not presentable. In Su Yun's eyes, a hooligan would always be a hooligan. People like Old Cow were not as smart as people like Lai Wen. "Brother, shouldn't you be more polite when talking to me?" Old Cow's big brother disease was very serious. This disease was similar to the public health disease and had to be treated. Su Yun did not want to talk nonsense, but when he heard Old Cow's words, he was a little impatient. "Then how do you want me to be polite?" "You seem to have something that you want to ask me for help with," Old Cow said. "But you still want to make arrangements for me? Brother, do you know who I am? No one in Xionghu dares to make arrangements for me." This braggart was indeed worthy of being called Old Ox. "Even the secretary doesn't dare to make arrangements and orders in front of me. Do you think your words are respectful to me?" Old Cow said. "Do you want to mess with Lai Wen? Do you want to smash his collection room?" Su Yun asked. Old Cow was startled. "What do you mean?" "With just you, you can only think about it." Su Yun had a look of disdain. "Brother Cow, I have seen many people like you. You talk so much, but when you do things, you are so unreliable. If I lend you 2 guts, would you dare to smash Lai Wen's house?" Old Cow's face turned red from being humiliated by Su Yun's words. If he really dared to, he would have King done it long ago. How could Su Yun have the chance to show off in front of him? "Are you looking down on me?" Old Cow hated the feeling of being looked down on the most. He had been an orphan since he was young, and he didn't even know how he survived. Anyway, from the time he was sensible, he relied on begging to make a living. He had endured all kinds of days of being despised and despised by others, so he hated this feeling the most. "Yes," Su Yun said straightforwardly. Old Nyo wanted to fall out with him, but there was only him and Su Yun in the car. He did not dare to. "Just now, your people knocked over the cigarette I handed you. Didn't you look down on me at that time?" Su Yun said, "Respect is mutual." Old Cow suppressed the unhappiness in his heart. "Then what do you mean?" "I seem to have given you the respect you want. Su Yun, to be honest, Old Cow, have not been so polite to anyone in a long time." "Don't talk nonsense." Su Yun said, "You really respect me. In a while, go down and pick up that cigarette and smoke." Old Cow's eyes immediately widened. "Let me tell you, I'm already being polite to you by calling you Brother Cow." Su Yun said, "We have the same goal. If we didn't have the same goal, I wouldn't have gotten into your car at all." Old Cow couldn't vent his anger at Su Yun's rhythm. You were scammed by Lai Wan, and my family was also scammed by Lai Wan. Su Yun started to bluff him. He scammed you for tens of millions, and that's considered a small amount. Fu Chun hired you too, right? Do you know what fake he sold to my family? Old Cow's face was blank. What? He sold a beast's head to my family, Su Yun said. Old Cow did not understand. Beast? That green tea model? Not beast, beast's head, the head of a beast. Su Yun said, what are you thinking about? It's already the expired video incident, okay? Don't think too much. Then what's popular now? Uniqlo? Or what? Snake Spirit Man? Old Cow said. You know quite a lot. Su Yun said, I'm talking about the 12 Zodiac Beast's head that was lost from Summer Palace. The Zodiac Wonder that took turns to spray water. Old Cow nodded and came back to his senses from the aftertaste of those videos. After he came back to his senses, Old Cow was dumbfounded. 12 Zodiac Beast's head? Are you kidding me? You believe this? If it were you, you would believe it too. Su Yun said, Lai Wan has a very high status in the circle. The things he takes out make people believe it too easily. Then even if you find him, he won't admit it? Old Cow said. Su Yun nodded. Yes, he won't admit it. What he says is true. Then what do you plan to do? Old Cow felt that it was interesting now. Originally, it was his matter, and he was worried that Su Yun would cause trouble for him. Now, Su Yun was actually doing the same thing as him. Su Yun said, I spent so much effort to sneak into his house and to his side because I'm sure that he still has counterfeits in his hands. As long as we find the other counterfeits in his house, we can prove that he's fooling us. Old Cow opened his mouth wide. These counterfeits are mass-produced? What do you think? I'm sure that his house has sold your Fuchin Sea dwelling painting and my beast's head. You're so sure? Old Cow said, if he doesn't, wouldn't you have played for nothing? Moreover, even if you have it, what can you do about it? I just need to expose him, and he won't be able to survive in this circle in the future. Don't you think that's useful? Su Yun said, this is more worth it than you snatching something worth tens of millions from him. Old Cow suddenly understood. Let his reputation be ruined. That's right. I want his reputation to be ruined. Su Yun said. Old Cow clapped his hands and cheered. I have to support this. But there's something I don't understand. Are you so sure that he still has counterfeits in his hands? Do you know who the girl he caught is? Su Yun continued to dupe him. Old Cow shook his head. It was a girl, and it was said that she was a very beautiful girl. That's the world's famous forgery master. Although she's very young, her craftsmanship is definitely not something that many old men can compare to. Su Yun said, now do you understand why Lai Wan wanted to detain her? Old Cow stared. Why? If this girl becomes his counterfeiting production machine, Lai Wan will be rich in this lifetime. Su Yun said, the amount of money he'll earn will be uncountable. Using money to tempt someone was the easiest thing to do. Old Cow's eyes were bloodshot. If this counterfeiting master could work for him, wouldn't he become an even richer person? Wouldn't he be able to earn all these ill-gotten gains? Why did he let Lai Wan do such a good thing? I'll support whatever you want to do. Old Cow now completely believed Su Yun's words. Su Yun lowered his voice. We'll work together and attack him from the inside and outside. We'll catch him off guard. And then, Old Cow said, what benefits do you want? I just want his reputation to be ruined and I'll get evidence of his counterfeiting. I'm not interested in the rest. Su Yun said. Old Bull chuckled. Then, will the other benefits all belong to me? Up to you. I don't care what benefits you want. I just want to topple Lai Wan. Su Yun said, I don't lack money. What I want is to vent my anger. Okay. I promise you. Brother, we'll officially form an alliance today. Old Cow said excitedly and stretched out his hand to shake Su Yun's hand. Su Yun waved his hand and didn't have the intention to shake his hand. Brother Cow, I've said so much because I've poured my heart out for you and allowed you to gain my trust. However, you haven't gained my trust yet. Don't you need to do something? Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to work with you. What if you set me up? Old Cow was dumbfounded. Why would I set you up? Tell me, what do you want me to do? Go out and pick up a cigarette to smoke. Su Yun smiled, but his smile didn't allow Old Cow to refuse. Chapter 3051. What was this? Was he riding on someone's neck and shitting? Old Cow wanted to turn hostile without thinking, but Su Yun wouldn't give him a chance. He directly opened the door and dragged him out. Before Old Cow could roar in anger, Su Yun grabbed his collar and dragged him out of the car. Su Yun's actions directly scared Old Cow's subordinates. No one had seen such a scene before. Even in their dreams, they didn't believe that Su Yun would be so disrespectful to Old Cow. Old Cow was the master who could overflow Dongting Lake with a stomp of his feet in Xionghu. What are you doing? Let go of me. Old Cow's subordinates were also loyal. They quickly surrounded Su Yun. Since Su Yun wanted to establish his power, he definitely wouldn't give them any chance to retaliate. Before those people with guns at their waists could make a move, he directly knocked down the two people in front of him. Just at the moment when those experts with guns wanted to pull out their guns, Su Yun blocked Old Cow in front of him without any hesitation. After those people pulled out their guns, they only realized that it was their boss after aiming over. Are you guys F***king crazy? Put it down. Old Cow was obviously very afraid of death. Bullets didn't have eyes. If the gun misfired, then they would die for nothing. The subordinates naturally didn't dare to disobey their boss's orders. They immediately put down the guns in their hands. Is this your so-called sincerity? Su Yun smiled slightly. Old Cow, you said that I didn't respect you. Now, take a look for yourself. How much respect do you have for me? Su Yun, just say what you F***king want to say. Don't beat around the bush. Old Cow also scolded fiercely. Su Yun snorted coldly. I don't want to say anything. I just want you to see for yourself. Old Cow wasn't convinced. I originally came to find you today to settle the score. Settle the score? Settle the score with me? Su Yun raised his eyebrows. Then I'm afraid that you didn't bring enough people. The Old Cow was startled. It was as if he had just realized that Su Yun was deliberately finding fault with him just to tell him what his strength was. I know how strong you are. If my men don't have guns in their hands, they might not be your match at all, Old Cow said. You don't have to emphasize this point. You don't really think that guns can solve the problem, do you? Su Yun pouted. Just let them shoot. Grab me, I don't want to die. Old Bull said. Su Yun suddenly let go and pushed Old Nyo forward. Old Nyo directly pounced on the two gun-wielding subordinates in front of him. At this moment, the guy with the gun had an opportunity. He raised the Black Star pistol in his hand. However, Su Yun, who was still in his line of sight, suddenly flashed and appeared in front of him. The gunman didn't even have the chance to pull the trigger. He felt a sharp pain in his wrist, and he couldn't even hold the gun. He screamed and let go. The moment the pistol fell to the ground, Su Yun directly hooked the gun with his leg. The moment he grabbed the pistol, he started to dismantle it. In less than 3 seconds, the pistol was broken into pieces. Old Cow had just come back to his senses. While Old Cow was still in shock, the two subordinates beside him raised their guns again. However, the moment the pistols were raised, they were gone. The two of them were second-rate experts with decent strength, but they had never seen someone with Su Yun's speed. They didn't even have the chance to shoot. Their fingers hadn't even touched the trigger, and the gun was gone. What was there to fight? The two black muzzles were aimed at Old Cow's eyes. Old Cow was completely convinced. He slowly raised both his hands. Although Old Cow subordinates rushed forward immediately and surrounded Su Yun, they were worried that the gun in Su Yun's hand would hurt their boss. No one dared to act rashly. Old Cow carefully raised both his hands, and a smile slowly appeared on his face. "Brother Su Yun, let's joke around. Don't go overboard." "Indeed, we can't go overboard." Su Yun also smiled. "I'm not someone who doesn't know what's going on. I'm just afraid that Brother Cow's subordinates don't know what's going on. Therefore, I have no choice but to be more serious with this joke." Old Cow's heart was about to jump out. He had experienced all kinds of storms and waves over the years. To be able to reach this step today, Old Cow had definitely experienced a lot of life and death situations. If it was in the past, he had nothing. He wasn't a person who was afraid of death. However, it was different now. Old Cow had already lost the frivolous attitude he had when he was young. Now, he was really afraid of death. If he died, he would have nothing left. After so many years, many people around Old Cow had experienced life and death situations. This also made Old Cow understand a principle. Nothing was more important than being alive. "Brother, there are some things that Brother Cow's subordinates have indeed gone overboard." As Old Cow spoke, he slowly took a few steps back. He bent down and picked up the cigarette that his subordinate had just slapped away. The Diamond Hibiscus King was also a very expensive cigarette. Su Yun didn't say anything. He just held the gun and looked at Old Cow. Old Cow's subordinates didn't dare to believe their eyes. They couldn't understand why their boss did this. Why did he pick up the cigarette on the ground to smoke? Fire. If Old Cow didn't remind them, his subordinates wouldn't have been able to react. After lighting the cigarette, Old Cow took a deep puff. He pointed at the remaining cigarettes on the ground and said, "These are all given to you by my brother. Don't King waste them. One for each of you. Smoke them all to the filter." Since their boss had given the order, everyone followed it. However, they really didn't understand why their boss did this. "Brother Cow, this is considered sincere," Su Yun said calmly, "then we can be considered an official alliance." "If Brother Su Yun thinks that I am trustworthy," Old Cow said. Su Yun directly threw the 2 pistols at Old Cow's subordinates. The 2 of them were terrified. They were afraid that they would misfire when they caught the pistols. That would be too unjust. Old Cow also didn't expect that Su Yun would do such a thing. He had no fear. Su Yun indeed didn't have anything to fear. If Old Cow wanted to play tricks, then he could subdue him once. He could subdue him a second time. Hence, it wasn't that Su Yun had a lot of confidence in Old Cow. It was that Su Yun had confidence in himself. Old Cow didn't understand this point. He really thought that Su Yun trusted him. "Brother, just based on your actions, I have absolute trust in you." Old Cow gave him a thumbs up. "Give me a time. I will do whatever you want me to do." "There's no time like the present," Su Yun said. "Today." Old Cow was more or less shocked. This was indeed a bit too sudden. A long night means many dreams. For us, we will all have some misgivings. Su Yun said, "Since we have made things clear today, then let's take action today. If we don't take action today, no matter who regrets it tomorrow, it will be a destructive blow to our decision today. Am I right?" Old Cow nodded. "Okay, I promise to listen to your arrangements." "I will listen to your arrangements." 1 a.m. Su Yun said, "People's vigilance is the lowest at this time." "Okay. If you kill your way in, we can easily destroy Lai Wen's collection room." Su Yun said, "Brother Cow, do you understand?" "Don't worry." Old Cow confidently agreed to Su Yun, but he muttered to himself in his heart, "My target is that expert in counterfeiting." As for Lai Wen's side, he didn't care at all. If Old Cow could see benefits, other things were completely unimportant. How could Su Yun not know what Old Cow was thinking? He worked together with him because he had clues about Xia Qiuyu. He let Old Cow search first. It would be best if he could find Xia Qiuyu. If he couldn't, Su Yun could change his strategy at the last minute and not help Old Cow. Lai Wen wouldn't suspect him either. This was a straightforward way of making use of him. Chapter 3052. Su Yun didn't say anything more. He got in the car and left quickly. Because it was still early, he still had a lot of time to feel the culture of Xionghu. He tasted all kinds of shrimp, blood tofu, and Xiongxi sour meat before returning to Lai Wen's home. When Su Yun came back, Lai Wen was already home. Lai Wen shouldn't have come back so early. Today, he went to eat with the secretary of the local director in charge of cultural relics, although the other party didn't have any official position or power. But in terms of cultural management, he had a lot of contact. No one knew what Lai Wen was thinking, but he did often come into contact with people related to cultural relics. Perhaps this was a long-term plan for his future development. In this day and age, inviting people to a meal was not a simple end, especially when inviting people who were useful to you. Basically, you couldn't escape from eating, drinking, singing, bathing, and mahjong. Eating, drinking, and singing were normal. Not to mention Lai Wen's age, even junior high school students would drink a few glasses of beer and sing karaoke for 2 hours. As for bathing, everyone knew. Whether it was a formal relaxation or an informal healthcare, it varied from person to person. Some people liked formal relaxation and healthcare, while others liked informal healthcare. And mahjong was a national sport in Xionghu and Chuandu. Workers, farmers, merchants, soldiers, old, young, women, and youth, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, the sound of mahjong. Legend has it that a commercial airliner was flying from the north to the southwest. The passengers suddenly heard the sound of mahjong from the ground. They all got up and said that they had arrived at Xionghu. The famous people of Huaxia said that mahjong was an important cultural heritage of Huaxia, and Huaxia had 3 major contributions to the world. The first was Chinese medicine, the second was Teacher Chow's Dream of the Red Chamber, and the third was mahjong. If you play mahjong, you can better understand the relationship between chance and inevitability. There was philosophy in mahjong. People of Xionghu who didn't play mahjong were like people of Xionghu who didn't eat chili. It was unbelievable. People of Xionghu's enthusiasm for mahjong was no less than the crazed pursuit of crayfish. So it was completely unreasonable for Lai Wen to come back so quickly without playing mahjong. Boss Lai. When Su Yun came back, Lai Wen was waiting for him in the room. Lai Wen smiled. You went out to play? Let's go out for a walk and see the night view of Xionghu. Su Yun, it's my first time here. After staying in Africa for so long, it must feel good to come back and see the city. Lai Wen smiled. What do you think? How do you feel about Xionghu? Su Yun smiled. It's very beautiful. I like it here very much. When I was at Mei Shi Lake just now, I didn't want to leave. Lai Wen laughed. The night view of Mei Shi Lake is indeed very beautiful. In fact, a long time ago, Mei Shi Lake was a low-lying land, but now it is no longer the same as before. If it weren't for Changsha's West 2nd Ring Road, I don't think many people would know about Mei Shi Lake, Su Yun said lightly. It seems that your trip wasn't in vain. Lai Wen raised his eyebrows. Do you intend to develop in Xionghu for a long time? Wherever Boss Lai goes, I'll develop there. If I'm not even familiar with Boss Lai's territory, how am I going to survive? Su Yun's answer was flawless. Ha ha ha. Good. Then you really need to familiarize yourself with Mei Shi Lake's environment, because I like that place too much. Lai Wen said, and this year, I also plan to get a piece of land there and build a new house. Mei Shi Lake's geographical advantage was definitely a rare landscape environment in the contemporary urban circle. In that case, that place is really a place with good feng shui, Su Yun said. That's right. Lai Wen nodded. Because it's on the west side of Yuelu Mountain, Mei Shi Lake is also stained with a lot of spiritual energy and immortal energy. The green mountains are like black, the trees provide shade, and the air has a refreshing smell. I like the intoxicating feeling of having my eyes filled with green, and I also like fishing. That place is a famous fishing spot. Fishing is good, Su Yun said, cultivating the mind, cultivating the character, and cultivating the sentiment. That's right, Lai Wen said, and Meishi Lake's water surface is wide and there's plenty of oxygen, which is good for health. Going fishing occasionally can relieve one's mood and is suitable for relaxing the pressure of life. Su Yun nodded. Lai Wen smiled meaningfully. In fact, young people should fish more. Fishing is probably the best way to cultivate and practice patience in the world, right? Although it was cruel to say that people like to build their lives on the bad luck of other species, fishing was really a good way to relax. But thinking about it from another perspective, fish was still very pitiful, so Su Yun was not too interested in fishing. Then I really didn't go to the wrong place. Su Yun said, in the future, I can often fish with Boss Lai. No problem, we'll go tomorrow, Lai Wen said. Lai Wen did not know that he would have a disaster tonight. There was probably no hope for tomorrow's matter. Okay. Su Yun smiled. If there's nothing else, I'll go rest first. Lai Wen was a little hesitant. In fact, he had been waiting for Su Yun to ask him when he would take him to visit his collection room. This was because Su Yun had mentioned this matter in Africa. Now that Su Yun had come to Xionghu, it was time for him to fulfill his promise. But it was because Su Yun had mentioned it before that Lai Wen was a little hesitant and did not bring it up. Now that Su Yun did not mention this matter, it seemed that he had his own concerns in his heart. Lai Wen smiled slightly. Okay, then rest early. Su Yun was obviously using his actions to tell Lai Wen that he was thinking too much. This way, Lai Wen would not be too suspicious of Su Yun. Only when Lai Wen was not suspicious of Su Yun would Su Yun have a chance. Su Yun did not have 100% trust in Old Cow. After all, he was using that guy. There were still more than 2 hours before the agreed time. If Old Cow suddenly became smart and understood that this was Su Yun's use of him and did not come at night, then Su Yun still had to make other plans. This must not let Lai Wen have any doubts about him. The situation caused by his carelessness previously needed to be solved slowly. Su Yun wanted Lai Wen to be half convinced of him. Only in this way, Lai Wen, who was suspicious, would confuse his own thoughts. Whether it was too suspicious or too loyal, it would make people like Lai Wen distrust Su Yun even more. On the contrary, this state of half-believing and half-doubting Lai Wen would increase his trust in Su Yun. It sounded very contradictory and strange, but there were such people in the world who would only trust the people they doubted most of the time. No one would trust people whom they did not trust at all. Lai Wen was not only like this, but he would also not trust people whom he completely trusted. This was because his suspicious personality would always make him doubt and give all his trust to someone whom he thought was completely trustworthy. Once this person lost his trust, he would have no way out. Su Yun saw this point and started his current plan. Even though Lai Wen felt that everything was under his control, in reality, he was completely under Su Yun's control. For some things, the control of the rhythm was the most important. Now, the only uncertain factor Su Yun was Old Cow. He was not sure if Old Cow would return. If Old Cow came, would he really know where Xia Qiuyu was imprisoned? This was also an uncertain factor. Now, Xia Qiuyu was the key because only Xia Qiuyu knew where Lai Wen kept the beast head. If he could not find the beast head, there was no meaning in overturning Lai Wen. Chapter 3053. After Old Cow separated from Su Yun, he had been pondering about the problem at night. Should he go or not? In an hour's time, Old Cow had smoked 2 cigars. Until now, he was not sure what he should do. No matter what, Su Yun was one of Lai Wen's people. If this was a trap set by Su Yun, wouldn't he be directly slapped in the face if he brought people over? At that time, Lai Wen would humiliate him properly. How would he be able to survive in Xionghu in the future? All kinds of conflicts made Old Cow's decision more and more difficult. The words that Su Yun had said just now were really suspicious. However, Old Cow had taken the initiative to look for him. Just based on the fact that Su Yun could directly grab a gun and point it at his head in front of so many of his subordinates, if he wanted to humiliate him, he did not need to go through so much trouble. All of this made Old Cow's heart move. He smelled the scent of victory. If this was really an opportunity, then he should grab hold of this opportunity. He definitely could not miss this opportunity. What should he do? What should he do? Every time Old Cow encountered something that gave him a headache, he would find his Xiao Si. Not only did this campus belle of Xiang University have a beautiful face and an unbelievable figure, but she also had a smart brain. It was not so easy to become a campus belle. Now, there was a campus belle standard. The distance between the mouth and the eyes was 35% of the face, and the distance between the two breasts was more than 20 centimeters. The height was 7 times that of the head. This was the so-called 8-headed beauty. These were the most basic body requirements. Old Cow's Xiao Si clearly met the standards. She was not inferior, especially the distance between the two breasts. That was definitely beyond. Although Old Cow was not tall, his hands were definitely quite big. His thumb and middle finger stretched to the limit of 25 centimeters. Such a big hand could not even grasp that single chest. As a ball control expert, Old Cow adeptly grasped all kinds of ball control techniques. He was very adept at one-handed ball control, two-handed ball control, and cross-ball control. The campus belle, Xiao Si, snuggled in Old Cow's arms and did not speak. She knew that Old Cow liked to control the ball while thinking. This would make Old Cow calm down. Old Cow controlled the ball while looking at the beautiful face of Little Four in his arms. The campus belle, Little Four, was too beautiful. The distance between her pupils was about half the distance between her ears, and the length of her nose was about 1/3 of the length of her forehead. Her beautiful lips were so beautiful that people couldn't help but want to take a bite out of them. Her upper lip was 8 millimeters long, and her lower lip was 9 millimeters long. The width of her mouth was the width of her pupils, and the vertical line was the corner of her mouth. Every place was perfect and standard. Old Bull knew very well what this beauty saw in him. This was not the first school belle that Old Cow had. He was very clear about what these girls needed. Many losers dreamed of being lucky enough to find a campus belle and act out the plot of a counterattack in an online school novel. In fact, those things were all F*King nonsense. What were the standards of those campus belles in real life? Generally, they did not need to be very rich. 500 million yuan was enough. Of course, this had to be the only child who could inherit it. Their height could not be too low. Of course, this was related to the family property. Those with only 500 million yuan could not be shorter than 1.75 meters, but if they had 5 billion yuan, they could be reduced to 1.6 meters. If they had 50 billion yuan, 1.3 meters was also acceptable. Of course, this was also acceptable for a second marriage. Of course, they had to ensure their annual income. They had to give themselves at least 2 million yuan as pocket money. As for their family, they had to give at least 500,000 yuan. If they could not find someone of this standard, the campus belle would choose rich people like Old Cow as her bank card. It was nothing more than sleeping with them for 2 days every week. There was no loss at all. If someone gave them money, what they needed to do was to keep fit, shape, and maintain their beauty. As long as they were beautiful girls, they would have a chance to meet rich men. Now that medicine was so advanced, it was possible to do any kind of head transplant. As for membrane repair and various kinds of small operations, it was not a problem. In this day and age, what could not be faked? Chicken and pork could be mixed with beef essence, high elasticity, and other additives and dyed with pig blood to turn into beef tenderloin. Pork tenderloin could be disguised as steak with more than 10 additives. Using calcium carbonate to make eggshell, sodium alginate, alum, gelatin, edible calcium chloride, water, and pigment to make egg yolk and egg white. Even eggs could be faked, let alone an innocent girl. The world was full of green tea. What do you think I should do? Should I believe this person? Old Cow asked his campus belle, Little Four, if there was nothing he would not tell. This was because this girl was a think tank in his eyes. If he told her everything, she would not speak carelessly and would not have the chance to do so. Canary was in the cage every day. Other than serving him, the rest of the things she needed to do was to revise for the postgraduate entrance examination. The campus belle, Little Four, thought for a while and blinked her innocent, cute, and pitiful eyes. I don't know what this person is thinking, but I feel that he will definitely not stand with Lai Wen. Why? Old Cow asked. He had the same feeling too. A woman's sixth sense. The campus belle, Little Four, said, I just feel that this kind of thing. I don't know how to say it, but I just feel that you should believe him. Baby, then I will listen to you. I will bet everything on you. Old Cow said, if you are right, you will be my lucky star in the future. So what if I am your lucky star? You are still secretly keeping me here. The campus belle, Little Four, was actually a scheming B*TCH. When can I become an official employee? Ha ha ha, believe me. This day is coming, Old Cow said. Old Bull said, but he cursed in his heart. Become your mother's official wife. I relied on my father-in-law to be where I am today. Even if I become an official wife, there are still mistresses and mistresses. When will it be your turn? However, this campus belle, Little Four, was always able to calm Old Cow down. You have already said it. I am taking it seriously. The campus belle, Little Four, looked shy. Then, I have my eyes on a LV bag today. Bye. Old Cow said, don't talk about a bag. If my plan succeeds today, I will buy the entire LV for you to play with in 2 years. Old Cow's words were very heroic. His only motivation now was that, Master of Counterfeiting. This title that Su Yun made up allowed Old Cow to see too many benefits. Stop boasting. The campus belle, Little Four, obviously did not believe in such big words. Old Cow snorted. Are you looking down on me? Then I really have to do what I want to do today. As long as I do this, you will be mine for the rest of your life. From what you are saying, you don't want to raise me for the rest of my life. Old Cow raised his eyebrows. I just feel that you don't have any plans to follow me for the rest of your life. Little B*TCH, do you think I don't know what you are thinking in your heart? Annoying. Quickly take off your clothes and make me comfortable. In another 2 hours, I am going to do something big. Old Cow looked at the Rolex on his wrist and spread his legs comfortably on the bed. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.